Chapter 142, The Red Eyes of the Viper. The challenge was about to start. Sigurd was just standing there and observing. Alina was standing opposite to him, and the effect of the poison was starting to appear on her. She staggered a bit, but she kept her eyes open and swords up. It was the moment to start. Clink, clink, clink. 3 slashes in a lightning speed exchange between father and daughter made those who were not paying attention to pay it with benefit. Sigurd was exerting a lot of pressure on Alina. Alina was glaring quite bold. It was not a match of wits and magic anymore, this was strength and agility. Who can add pressure has the upper hand. Alina was having a trouble focusing, the poison was taking its toll. Sigurd saw through an opening and a slight stab pushed Alina back into a staggering manner. She didn't stagger much thought and returned with 360 whirlwind slash. Despite the poison, she was dancing. Sigurd wasn't showing mercy either. He made a double slash with his 2 moon sabers. The slash carried a lot of weight that forced Alina back again. The moon saber is indeed one of a kind, one minute they are swords, the other they are axes. Alina's technique was having a bit of a trouble showing itself. The poison was the enemy from inside, and the enemy from outside was putting a lot of pressure. The clash returned to its heat once again and again. Each time Alina was pushed and was forced to the ring side. Her mentality is impressive even under the effect of poison, she wasn't looking away from her target. Clink, clink, clink. A strong clash of swords that resulted in some sparks that looked rather impressive. Sigurd pushed her to the corner saying, "Got you." Alina rolled over saying, "Really?" Sigurd snorted and unleashed a big move. Alina retreated nimbly but almost tripped. She fell to her back but used the power of her hips to bounce back up. It looked like a mistake, but it wasn't. On the terms of skill, Alina shocked a lot of people. The point of her challenge was to be pressured, but she had the time to show off her cool move. This mentality is not normally her, but she made every open their eyes in admiration and give her a round of clapping. Sigurd, the handsome man with cool features, smiled from his daughter. It seemed he needs to put feelings aside and push her more. Alina, on the other hand, was starting to have a problem with vision. It was turning blurry as her heart started to accelerate due to the pressure from the fight. Around her, the shields with eyes started to look like they really have eyes at this stage of the poison effect. It was making hallucination in Alina's mind about how they snake eyes on the shields were moving and glaring at her. She steadied herself even though her body started shaking. Bitter frost was taking its toll on her as her body started to become colder. Sigurd attacked more violent than before. Alina wasn't keeping up well. Her footwork crumbled, yet she was impressively fending back. Her breathing started to become a mess too, as it felt that her lungs were heavy. Alina was like a fighter who spent a lot of time in battle and can barely stand. She was about to lean on one of the shields, but Sigurd gave a said, "Bash her." The shield indeed bashed Alina after a second of hesitation. "Sorry, sister." The voice was Bjorna's. Alina was pushed back to the middle. Bjorna's bash. One must know that a bash from Bjorna, who started to look like Scotty, is not something to make light of. Alina's condition was worsening. Every clash with Sigurd now would send her to the shields to get bashed at. "Sorry, Alina," Phrygia said as she bashed at Alina. "Sorry, we'll give you some mead for that." Halfthor. "You can return the bash if you want later." Wolfer was bashing while timidly looking at John. "Go, girl." John Bash sent her flying, which she used to her advantage, and slashed back at Sigurd. Alina's got some momentum for a second, but she suppressed again. All the eyes on the shields around her started to affect her mentally. Alina was now attacking both Sigurd and the shields in panic. Sigurd moved his hands flash speed to Alina's face and lightly attacked. This attack was like a finger flick, but it made Alina guard her face with both arms. Nurina, who was watching from the outside, clicked her tongue and stood up to get a clear look of the situation. She started to feel that something was off. Her hunch was right on the mark as Alina started to stagger and fell on her knees, throwing her swords away and covering her face with her palms. Her eyes were shut and it seemed that she was in pain. She then started to move and opened her eyes. Sigurd was awfully silent. Sigurd was standing and not moving while keeping his eyes on his daughter's eyes. Alina stood up with her glaring red eyes that their pupils transformed into a vertical slit shape. Her hands were still on her face. All of that was not the problem. The problem appeared when Alina looked around with those eyes. Every person around backed away. Every one of the shield bearers backed away with fearful expressions. The appearance on their faces showed true fear. Even Jelinar, who was no stranger to Jon's aura of madness, was holding her breath. Alina put her hands away from her face, and it seemed that there was no veil on her face. Her beautiful face was shown to everyone, but none could overcome the fear. None is not exactly true. The strong masters were all quite composed. There was a third party to the terrified party and the composed party. That was the unaffected party, which its only member was Jon. Jon opened his eyes wide, and an idiotic smile appeared on his face. Boy. Oh boy. Jon wasn't sure what in oblivion is going around, but he realized a few things immediately. First, Alina from his pink imagination is that Alina, his junior apprentice that doesn't show her face around. Come to think of it, she too calls me senior. What a coincidence. A series of realization came to Jon one by one like flashes of memories that almost made him want to slap himself a few thousand times. Second, Alina's veil was removed by Sigurd. He took her veil away to put a mental burden on her and cause her eye to transform. The veil was on his hand. Third, Alina's eyes are unusual. They caused some sort of mystical effect that can't be sensed by normal mages. This was something more different than both aura or magicka. It was like war cry, a manifestation of dormant force in the soul. Fourth, Alina's mentality is deteriorating. Her breathing looks like something he knew from experience. She is about to have a panic attack due to losing her veil and the reaction to her eyes. Lastly, the mystical eye power that gushed from Alina's eyes were affecting everyone around. Even the strong masters were on guard, but he himself felt nothing but a wave of energy. This will be bad. Jon threw away the shield and walked to Alina. Alina saw him coming and fear conquered her to the core. She turned around and ran. Jon knew this won't end well if she couldn't stand her ground. He used his magic and teleported right in front of her. Alina, who was running, bumped into Jon. She was scared and tried to move away, but Jon embraced her in a hurry. He knew he had some sort of advantage over her eye power, and it was the best chance to fix her mentality before she breaks down, and also a good chance for some other things in mind. Alina, who tried to resist, got no chance against Jon's strength. He didn't let go of her and lowered his head to whisper some words into her ears. Senior, you noticed. Fu. Don't worry, Senior will always notice. Due to some words said by Jon, Alina's was able to control her thoughts and calm down at a rapid pace. It was also due to the calm spell that he was secretly casting on her. Jon used the grab spell and snatched Alina's face veil from Sigurd's hand and put it back on Alina's face with his hands. Alina was blushing as she was still being held by one of Jon's arms. Due to that, her eyes returned to normal right away. The people around seemed to have recovered from the terrifying sensation that attacked them after making an eye contact with Alina. They were all in the state of recovering when another weird sensation attacked them. In the middle of the hall, a strong pink atmosphere was forming quickly. No one even had the time to take a breath before they started to have a strong urge to puke. This pink atmosphere was akin to having a very strong sugar rush that made everyone just want to look away. In the center of the pink atmosphere, Jon has finished putting the veil back on Alina. Here you go, Jon said with a bright smile. Thank you, Senior, Alina said in a soft voice. Alina. Yes, Senior. The pink atmosphere was reaching a very strong level that it started to have a force on its own. As the pink atmosphere affected everyone, the strong masters were not truly affected. Jonrad was whistling, Tormund was frowning, Jenna was sighing, Hilda was holding her stomach and laughing hard with Nirina, but most importantly Sigurd was making cringing of the ear. He walked in a fast pace towards Jon and Alina. "Alina, let's get going," Sigurd said as he was about to grab Alina's hand, but she was taken away to the side. Sigurd looked and saw Jon, who still had the blushing Alina in his arm, moving along away from Sigurd, while clicking his tongue. Veins popped up on Sigurd's forehead. He was smiling and shooting beams from his eyes at the same time. "Alina, why don't you come to Fath?" He wanted to grab Alina's hand and pull her away, but Jon took Alina a step away. "Old man, go away!" Jon was annoyed to the max. Sigurd was calling it right here. He was shooting more beams from his eyes and exhaling smoke from his mouth. "Boy, you are 1,000 years too early to be a suitable fit for my Alina. Come here and don't make me angry." "Old man, you are 4 years away from having a Dragonborn shouting you around the place. Go away and don't trigger me." Hee. Jonrad's kid is even noisier than Jonrad himself. And 100 times more handsome than both of you combined. Jon and Sigurd released their auras at the same time. Sparks was forming in the air just from the clash of auras. Alina, who was in the middle, was looking left and right, not knowing what to do in this situation. A new battle was about to begin. Chapter 143 Time Up. A strong light was shining brightly in the middle of the Firemain Mead Hall. The place was in a total chaos. Roar. Strong roars of fire-colored serpentine spectral beings sounded all over the hall. "Do you even know what is that?" Amidst the chaos, 2 women were having a discussion in loud voices to hear each other. "I don't know. They look like dragons." Nirina was confused. "Dragons? This is impossible." Jenna replied. "These are not dragons. Dragons are larger." Jonrad's voice replied to them. "Indeed it is." What was causing chaos in the middle of the Firemain Mead Hall were some strange dragon-like specters that caused a fire to burn the tables and the furs around the center. If Jon saw these creatures, he would hold his head and scream, saying, "Fire WRMS! Fire WRMS are dragon-headed, lucid, serpentine, fire elemental creatures of magic. They only appear when someone is brutally killed by dragon fire. In the game, the player would have the ability to conjure them by killing people with fire shout. Right now, a swarm of these creatures was swarming in a vortex in the middle of the hall. "Jonrad, keep these things from attacking us, damn it!" Jenna was struggling to break through the vortex. "I am trying." Jonrad was struggling to break through and protect the ones around him as his body is immune to fire, yet he was having difficulties. "Gah! Where are all these things are coming from?" Sigurd was supporting Jonrad. "I don't know. Keep those kids away." Tormund was trying to take control of the chaos. "No. Let go of me. I want to go to Jon. He needs me." Jullinar was screaming while being pinned down. "Get yourself together, girl. Bjorna, keep her from killing herself." Scotty, who pinned Jullinar down, called Bjorna. "Mother, Alina has fainted." Bjorna was supporting Alina, who has fainted. "Leave her to me, sis." Ingrid, Scotty's second daughter, took Alina from Bjorna. "Someone stop that black beast!" Jord, who was helping Tormund, shouted while pointing at a large black feline that was raging around. On it, Hafthor and some other boys started chasing after Nefertiti in her beast form. The tension in the hall couldn't be stopped, but it was somehow contained. No one could manage to stop that kind of chaos anyway. "We are through," Jonrad shouted. "I am going," Jenna was about to speak. "No. I will be the one going in. I can calm him down." Nirina took a step ahead of Jenna. "This is dangerous, Archwizard, but I will leave it to you. Please, return my children safe." Jenna hesitated and spoke in a soft voice. Yes, I know. Any helpful advice, please? Nerina was impatient. Any time now, ladies? John Rad, who was keeping the gap in the vortex of fire WRMS open, could only shout for the ladies to hurry up. I am not sure about it, but John Hild's mind is so strong. It overwhelmed Hilda, who has a thick skull. I am not sure if this is helpful, but be careful. Jenna said. Thank you. I am going. Nerina said and jumped through the fire WRMS. At that moment, the vortex intensified and the light shone brighter and brighter. Wolfer, who was trying to break through the vortex with his bare hands, got a lot of burns and was pushed back. Nefertiti, who activated her beast form without John's permission, was held down by Hafther and Vilker. When the vortex shone, her blue eyes widened and her long ears flattened against her head. Jullinar, who was being carried from her waist by Bjorna, was struggling with her arms and legs to jump into the vortex. Alina, who fainted due to accumulated exhaustion and mental fatigue once the incident occurred, regained her consciousness and opened her eyes to see the bright glow that shone all over the hall. Once it reached a glow equivalent to the sun and everyone started to look away, it started to die down rapidly. Everyone noticed the change and looked at where the vortex was to see it became no more. They all gathered to see what's going on. In the center, a pit that seemed to have been carved in the stone floor appeared. No one really bothered with the pit, as it was always since the construction of the place. The pit was filled with snow all year and it was an enchanted snow. On it, few circles were drawn with blood. No one bothered with that too, they were always there. However, what everyone was about to go mad about was John, Hilda, and Nerina, who all were lying unconscious in the middle of the pit. They are stable, Jenna, who checked on them, announced to the people around. Silence took over and everyone's faces turned calm. Not everyone was calm though. John Rad was worried to madness, Sigurd was patting his shoulder, Tormund was closing his eyes trying to calm down too. It was just silence. 2 hours ago. Boy, you are 1,000 years too early to be a suitable fit for my Alina. Come here and don't make me angry. Old man, you are 4 years away from having a Dragonborn shouting you all over the place. Go away and don't trigger me. Hee. John Rad's kid is even more annoying than John Rad himself. And 100 times more handsome than both of you combined. Hey John Rad, deal with that kid of yours. And now he is calling for John Rad. Shut up. Deal with him yourself. John Rad was laughing while he scolded Sigurd. Yeah. Don't go call for John Rad when you can't deal with me. He can't deal with me himself. John said. So that is it, huh? I don't care if you can bring out 3 magical Elder Scrolls, or if you can breathe fire like that fool John Rad, but it will never qualify you for a single hair from Alina's head. Careful, John. He dotes Alina a bit too much, said Tyr, who was behind John. So it was it. A daughter con, huh? John thought to himself. Shut up, Tyr. Sigurd glared at John, and they unleashed their auras at the same time. Sparks was forming in the air just from the clash of auras. Alina, who was in the middle, was looking left and right, not knowing what to do in this situation. A new battle was about to begin. That's enough, father. Or not. Alina, It's okay, father. Senior, thank you for helping me out. Alina regained her composure and the situation calmed down. You're welcome, Alina. I smiled and nodded. He then looked at Sigurd and smiled. I shouldn't have offended Patriarch Sigurd. I mean father-in-law like that. I am sorry about that just now. Over my dead body. Sigurd was mad. Thank you, Senior. Alina turned around and took Sigurd away. Humph. He snorted as if he was winning something here. TCH. Good grief. John cringed at Sigurd when he turned back. The place returned as quiet as before again. It was much easier now. Wolfer sat beside John and poked him, then winked. Not him alone, everyone else was winking. Sigh. John didn't know what to do, so he sighed and smiled while shaking his head. Tormund stood up and talked once again. He started saying some few words of how amazing the performance was and how mighty Alina's future will be. These words were to put some peace of mind for those who got affected by Alina's eye power. John still wanted to talk to her about that bee he saw her setting beside Hilda while the later was handing her a drink to calm her down. "Now let's see who's next?" Tormund asked. "Phrygia. Let's finish this once and for all. Who takes less time wins." Hafthor was as competitive as ever. "Give me a break. You'll never win," she said with a tired face. "Old man. I'll go first. Someone brings an hourglass." Hafthor started a competition anyway. An hourglass was brought. Jonrad and Jord also came with 2 long sticks that had hawks in their ends. They then went to the wooden center of the hall and hawked the sticks to some fits in the ground and pulled. The wooden center that was shaped as a circle came up with their pull, and a pit appeared under it. It was filled with snow and had a lot of runic circles drawn with blood on it. Hafthor jumped down first and stood at the center. "Hurry up, father. The potion." Heimdall also followed Hafthor and gave him a flask. "This is a spirit drink mixed with the ice wraith essence too. Something strong that caused the mind to sway." Hafthor and Heimdall drank it and then lied down on the snow. A few seconds later, they passed out and the wait began. Valkyr was looking at the hourglass impatiently while counting the minute. 17 minutes later, Heimdall woke up and helped Hafthor to stand. He then announced, "The wolf." Everyone around applauded. "Father!" Phrygia came down followed by Njord. The same thing happened and it took Phrygia 15 minutes to finish. Njord carried her and announced, "The hawk." It was another applaud. The one who was clicking his tongue was Hafthor. Forseti and Ragnar went down and Ragnar finished even faster than Phrygia. Forseti announced, "The snake." Vilker and Valle went down and Vilker woke up in almost half an hour while coughing blood. This was a sign of a failure. Vilker encountered the bear, and it was stronger than what he could take. Jenna kept healing him. It was a bit of a sad sense, but it wasn't unusual. Every year it happened 1 or 2 times. Everyone started calming down Vilker, who wanted to jump back again at the pit and beat the bear up. The problem is, beating the bear up wasn't the way to get acknowledged. Meanwhile, someone approached John from the back. "Let's go now, John Hild." That was Hilda. "Okay." When John approached the testing pit, everyone started to pay attention. John Hild is the son of Jonrad after all. If another dragon appeared, then the Firemane clan's strength will reach another height. John felt the snow once he stood on the pit. It was bone-freezing. "This snow is indeed enchanted," he thought and started studying the magic circle with interest. "Hurry up now and I'll tell you about it once we get out," Hilda, who followed him, said as she knows his bad habit of spacing out once he sees magic. "Okay. The drink," John extended his hand. "Here. Cheers. I am doing drugs with my mother now, well, cheers. Next time, let's try some skooma." "How funny." To the center, charmer. John and Hilda teased each other and took position on the circle. "I want you to be calm and think of something happy while you are in there. Don't forget, the mind realm is not an easy place, but it's your mind in the end. I'll be watching from the side, and you may see my shade and hear my voice." "Yes, Ma. Remember, something happy. I am seeing a lot of happy things anyway," John said as he was looking at Alina and Jelinar, who stood beside each other on the edge of the pit. See you on the other side then." Hilda laid down on the central circle. "See you." John responded to her and laid down inside the circle. He looked the sailing and felt drowsiness, then it all darkened around him. Next thing he knew was standing in a black space with a metallic sound ringing around him. 6 hours have passed. Game's time up. Logging out. Light shone on his eyes. He could feel the brightness of the glowing fluorescent lamp on the ceiling through the transparent glass of the headgear on his head. A voice called for him from the side. "Rise and shine, princess. Fatty brought some pizza and cola and I want my damn turn." Four Eyes was standing on the door of the room crossing his arms. Chapter 144 What Went Down. The comments on the last chapter were, "Kissing face, moi. Delicious. You don't know how long has it been since I was polishing this plot twist and trying to make everything lead to it. Here is your chapter. Enjoying Heartsuit. 6 hours have passed. Game's time up. Logging out. Light shone on my eyes. I could feel the brightness of the glowing fluorescent lamp on the ceiling through the transparent glass of the headgear set. A voice called for me from the side. "Rise and shine, princess. Fatty brought some pizza and cola, also I want my damn turn." Four Eyes was standing on the door of the room crossing his arms. "Four Eyes, help your daddy up," I said as I extended my hand to be pulled again from the chair. Four Eyes helped me up, but I froze for a second. For some reason I felt rather strange. Both my reach and MT height are a bit shorter than what they are supposed to be. "Will you keep holding my hand, you pervert?" "No, you are not my type." I let go of Four Eyes' hand and tried to ascertain my height again, but it all felt rather familiar. I guess it should be my imagination since I just came out of the game. I walked out of the room and there were some boxes on the dining table stacked on each other. "My extra cheese, where is it?" "That one," Fatty replied. "Yes. Finally, oh. The smell, it's lethal." I took a slice and bit on it. The flavor invaded my taste buds and made everything feel so magical. It felt like years since I ate this great pizza and felt like a torture. I was having the best foodgasm I had for 16 years. 16 years? Why did I just think of that? "Hey, come check that out," Fatty called. I followed his line of sight and he was pointing to the advertisement on the TV. It was a new pizza restaurant in the city. "That's nearby," he said. "What a grand coincidence. Still, I think I am all beaten up. I need to be at work tomorrow," I said while trying to enjoy the pizza with as less bad thoughts as possible. "Tomorrow is Friday, genius." "Oh, it is working out well, huh? Still, I guess I want to laze around and game all day. I am a simple man, it's Friday, I stay in bed." "Look at that advertisement," Fatty said, and I looked at the TV. "A gaming advertisement. That's unusual. I am not really interested in any of that anyway. As long as it is not Skyrim, then it's not worth my time." I sat on the sofa beside Fatty and started immersing myself in the glorious pizza. My eyes moved to what Fatty was looking at and he was holding his phone while grinning. I looked at the screen and I saw. Sigh. Lowly Asian cosplayers? Just give up, man. Foo-foo. A man must pursue his dreams for life. Fatty said. Perv. I wasn't sure how his head works and I don't want to know. Let's just focus on this magical pizza. The most annoying and rude thing in the world is to interrupt someone who is eating such a pizza. I was about to reach the climax with this slice, but... Ring ring. My food started ringing. Should I just curse whoever rang on me? Let's see, an unknown number. I have a phobia of unknown numbers. But still. Click. Who's it? Hello, sir. I am SIV from the Dare Dragon Group for Entertainment. We would like to congratulate you on winning on our yearly selection. We would like to acquire some of your personal information. Click. I just hanged up. Scammers. My mood was ruined by this call. Now I need to calm down. I kept holding my phone and started looking around. I tapped on that Instagram icon and got ready to enjoy some natural sceneries. Foo-foo. This is what people should see, not like you, Lullicon perv. On my phone, a lot of beautiful pics were being viewed. Humph. A Lullicon and a Kittycon. Four Eyes came from behind and looked at our screens, then snorted in disdain. Hey, Four Eyes. You are still seeing that girl from the morgue? I asked. Holy crap! Four Eyes is dating a morgue lady? Fatty exclaimed. A corpse man! Fatty and I laughed hard at this one. Humph! You two are imbeciles. You dare mock me while you two are singles to the bone. TCH, what's with this guy and bones? Fatty clicked his tongue. And who said I am single? I, your old daddy, have not one but two beautiful ladies. This guy dared to dare me? Still too early for him. He would lose his shit if he saw the charm of Alina and Joel. Humph! All barks but no bites. Four Eyes snorted in disdain and sat to watch the TV. Still, Alina and Joel. I feel like. Hey, when was the last time you had a date? Fatty didn't let go of Four Eyes and took the responsibility of cornering the insolent fellow. The topic switched to dating and an argument erupted. I noticed something on the TV display and turned up the volume. What is that? Four Eyes wondered. Is that a dating advertisement? Fatty knitted his brows. Strange. Something like that is being aired on an Egyptian TV channel? That's a bit too bold, isn't it? It was strange to see a thing like that. Suddenly, the screen turned blue. The broadcast is down. Maybe. Just turn off the damn thing and let's head down to the cafe. I stood up from the sofa and put the pizza in the fridge. See you later, dear. I closed the fridge and parted with the most wonderful pizza in the world. Meanwhile, everyone went to his room and started changing. I who finished dressing and started making my hair noticed something in my brush. I pulled it out and looked closely at it. A red hair. How did this come here? I walked out of the room holding the red hair in my hand. That is a red hair? Four Eyes held his glasses to ascertain from what he saw. No. Don't tell me you are really dating? Fatty was shocked. No, neither Alina nor Joel should have. What am I saying? What am I thinking about? Hey, it's just a red hair. No biggie. Let's go. Four Eyes said and walked out. Fatty seemed to have agreed with him and followed. I followed too. Sigh. The hell elevator. The most hateful thing about this world. We just crammed ourselves in and pressed on G'd. Elevator music. As we finally walked out of the elevator, I looked around for a bit. Where is that cat? It probably got chased away again, Four Eyes said. Yeah, the smell, Fatty replied. TCH. Insolent human beings. Here he goes again. They looked at each other and sighed. I mean, there is a butcher shop right next to the entrance. Can't they just leave the cat alone? Life can't be perfect, man. Let's go. I was pushed outside the building's entrance and walked in the street. It was around 8 p.m. and the street was full of people. In the summer, Alexandria never sleeps. We headed directly to the cafe and took our usual seats on the pavement. I ordered coffee and sat to enjoy the place. So, tomorrow is Friday. Any plans, gentlemen? Fatty asked. Friday, huh? I would always go hunt with Nefertiti on Fridays. I think we should go to the cinema. A new movie that made some high ratings will be viewed from tomorrow till the next week? Where? San Stefano Cinema. Man, this place is too fancy. And we can't go there like this, we need a date each. How miserable! What else? The pizza shop. It's nearby in Camp Cheeser. I don't want to go. Why? There is some new coffee shop there too. Camp Cheeser is expensive, and if it is about coffee, then Ferrick's Cafe Shop is the best place and a historical site at that, I said. Guess you are right. We can just go and hang around the citadel of Kate Bay and eat ice cream while harassing couples, I said. They laughed, but Fatty shook his head. No, man. I don't think we can go there anymore. Why? Don't you know? The Gov has taken over the area to make a new project. A new project? Yep, some wealthy investor from some wealthy part of the world came and gave the Gov some money so he can take over all the places around the citadel. Come on. You can't be serious. Every good beach was given to investors. The citadel now? I was really annoyed by the fact. Well, you know their motto, long live Egypt, but give us all your money. Well, it sucks. Just like that dumbass career. If I remember, it was like. Why do I keep forgetting what I was trying to think about? Over here. I heard a voice and looked towards it. A strange gray-skinned woman, no, a very familiar gray-skinned woman was making some glow out of her hand and following it. Behind her was another large woman. As they walked, they seemed to not be noticed or even hindered by the crowd. I can't see him. The large woman was looking around. He is close. So close. The gray-skinned woman was looking at the glow in her hand and clenching on her teeth. I absent-mindedly stood up and walked to them. I felt a lot of familiarity from that gray-skinned woman. She is so familiar, as if we are connected to each other. So I just walked to her. I wasn't sure how, but the people around increased so much. It felt like I am in a flowing stream of people. I pushed forward, but the people kept walking opposite to me. The gray-skinned woman was also not focused on me. Here. I tried to call. Here. I called again. She turned around and was looking for something on the other direction. Damn it. What should I? I pushed with all my power and reached forward. Nurina. I called her name. She turned around and looked at me. Her eyes were opened wide when she saw me and reached her hand out to me. Just as our hands touched each other. Everything became black. It wasn't just black. I looked at my body and could see myself clearly. More to that. I remember now. I know who I am. Still, there is a problem. My other half is missing. The hell? So you noticed? A voice spoke. I turned around and saw nothing. Who's there? I didn't recognize the speaker. You really aren't that brave, huh? The voice said. My heart was beating so fast. I was nervous. I felt a change in space around me and looked at the direction the change came from. I saw two more people here. One of them was a red-haired child that was holding his head from pain. The other one was a huge young man with a very familiar face, but his colors seemed a bit in a negative effect. Truth be told, I was focusing on the main host soul, not the medium. But who would have thought that the main host soul only had this little control? Truly wonderful. I think I picked wisely this time. The huge negative-colored man spoke to himself. His voice was the one that spoke to me a little while ago. What the hell is going on here? Chapter 145 Shadow. A big thanks for Marius Arnezen. Also, take that extra. Before Nurina touched hands, the situation was a bit confusing. Ismir Beard. Look at that building, it's all made of glass. What is that thing? John Hild. Why is your mind so messy? Is that carriage moving on its own? Dwemer? Why is this place so big? Hilda, who was in the middle of a foreign universe, was losing her composure at a rapid pace. The mind realms shouldn't be that big or that populated. Her mind realm was the plains in front of the clan's town. It was all green and she chased behind the wolf in that place to gain its recognition. But the place around her had people even though none of them interacted with her. It had strange objects moving around, and the building has a little bit too much glass in her opinion. Why is that John's mind realm? Shouldn't it be a place where he spent some good times at? Where in the world can such a city exist? Hilda was roaming the streets of Alexandria sometime. Every time she takes a direction, she finds herself back at square one. There was always that shop that had a blue sign and served strange food. Hilda moved her hand, and it went through the glass, and she actually could pull a round piece of the golden strange food out. Once she tasted it, she almost lost herself to the taste. No. This is not true. This is an illusion, I am sure of it. If such a delicious food existed in the world, then it will be the most famous thing. Hilda denied the sweetness of the food, and turned around to leave, but an urge grew within her, and she passed her hand through the glass again. Then she took a handful of it, decided to keep searching while trying them. She put some of them in her mouth, and was about to chew when suddenly, "Hilda!" Pfft! She turned around and spat all the food in her mouth out. "Nuria! Why are you here?" Hilda was surprised. "What are you doing? Where is John?" Nurina asked as she was still in a serious mood. "What happened? Did something happen?" Hilda sensed that there is some sort of a situation. "The hall is on fire. Some got injured?" Nurina was still in the hype of the action from outside. Why, what happened?" Hilda asked in confusion. "I'll tell you later. Where is John?" "I don't know. I have been looking for him, but all I see is rounds and rounds of the same place." Nurina started to pay attention to the surrounding, and opened her mouth agape. "What is this place? Beats me. Tall buildings, a lot of glass, lights everywhere. Have you ever heard of a place like that?" Hilda asked. Nurina looked around, then nodded. "2 times," she said. Hilda held her breath. "The first was from my master. She told me about a place called Clockwork City." "You have a master?" Hilda was wondering what kind of an absurd being can that be. "An undying old bitch. Anyway, this place is full of humans and its automatons are not the usual ones from Clockwork stories." "And the second time?" Hilda asked. "John's past life." Hilda and Nurina were running around the streets and trying to take notice of the landmark. "Past life? Come on. It's his usual excuse when he wants to lie or hide something." Hilda, who was following Nurina, started trying to make sense. Nurina paused her steps and looked up at Hilda. "John, he never lies to me," Nurina said while holding a finger up. "John may misguide people and trick them, but he is not good at lying. He can make up something based on the truths he has. The truth is, right now we are seeing a reflection from the place he loves the most, and it is not Riften or Winterhold or anywhere we know on Nirn," Nurina said and walked ahead. Hilda remained in place thinking. Then all these things that he is saying and doing, there is a big truth behind it? Hilda reached a scary realization. The dragons, the Dragonborn. He is trying to tell us something? Hilda held her arms together and shivered. Nurina, who went ahead a few steps, halted and looked back at Hilda. "As I told you, there is some truth behind what he says. I don't dare say there will be dragons or any of that, but divine save us if it is completely true. And divine save us as it seemed that the 3 Elder Scrolls are only a little thing to worry about." Hilda's face reddened from fear. Her eyes turned moisty and her breath became heavy. "Nurina, he always said that to me and I never believed him. I never knew." Hilda started crying and covered her face with her palms. Compared to Nurina, what she knows about John is what she sees in him from her and from Jonrad. He is smarter than most of the Nords and thinks of practical and new ways, but it never crossed her mind that there is more to the story. She was sad for John. She was angry at herself. She was jealous of Nurina, who got to know him more than anyone else. Her frustration that the few days John spent in their family home was not enough to get to know him that much. "Hey, sister. It is not that easy to understand that smug face." Nurina approached Hilda and started comforting her. It was an unusual behavior for an elf. "I am sure he wants to stand there someday and laugh at the world saying, 'I told you so,' whenever that thing happens. But don't forget how much he works to get ready for that day. Don't forget that he made progress no one in his age can make that easily. He is arming himself with knowledge and power all day long and making progress every step he took. He is getting ready for whatever comes. But don't forget who is he to you and to me. He is our son, our child. Us, the toughest 2 bitches on Nirn." Hilda cleared her tears and nodded. She smiled at Nurina's words. "Good, be positive and we will find him soon. Here I am getting a response." Hilda took a breath and regained her composure. Can you use magic here? I couldn't. It's not magic but a bit of divination. I can get us out of here. Nerina formed a blue hue of energy on her hand and took an alleyway. This way. John saw two more people in the dark space. One of them was a red-haired child that was holding his head from pain. The other one was a huge young man with a very familiar face, but his colors seemed a bit in a negative effect. Truth be told, I was focusing on the main host soul, not the medium. But who would have thought that the main host soul only had this little control? Truly wonderful. I think I picked wisely this time. The huge negative-colored man spoke to himself. His voice was the one that spoke to me a little while ago. John, who was in the appearance of his past lives, was looking at the negative-colored man and the child. He soon understood what the child is. You were the one who made that illusion?" he asked while standing in a careful pose. The negative-colored man looked at him and laughed. Once he took a step forward, John took a step back. "I am sure of it now. You are the brains and he is the muscle," the negative-colored man said while pointing at the child. That child was the other part of John, or it was John too. "And who are you?" John asked. "Me? Weird question. Well, you can think of me as the shadow of you two for now." John gulped. He didn't understand what shadow meant, but he was sure this is not someone to make the light of. "Okay, Mr. Shadow. I am not sure what is going on here, but can you help see heads and tails out of this messy situation?" John asked in a well-mannered way. "Gladly," Shadow replied. "You are a person." Shadow pointed at the adult John. "He is the Zampakuto spirit." Shadow pointed at the red-haired John. "I am the Hollow." Shadow pointed at himself. Bleach reference. Ahaha. John paused for a second, the laughed, giving Shadow a face for his joke. Ha ha ha. Shadow was taking a liking on the joke, as it seemed. Shadow suddenly stops laughing and looks at John, who stops laughing awkwardly. "So, Mr. Shadow, I still not sure about it standing here, but it seems that you are on some bad terms with our friend here. Can we perhaps get to talk about it on some coffee?" "Oh, and I thought we are going to fight." Shadow seemed disappointed. "We can do that too. Best friendships started with a brawl." "Great." Shadow seemed delighted. "Can we get him first? I am sure he loves fighting." John pointed at the young John. "He does. Believe me, you don't want to let him loose. The first thing he did when he saw me was throwing punches." Shadow started complaining. John was reading the situation with his mind rapidly. There seems to be a third entity in his mind, and quite the powerful one, to separate him from the other John. It also seemed to be aware of all the memories in John's mind, including the ones from his past life. John was not really amused by the fact that he was too exposed. The only one who knows too much about him is the augur, and John was sure that this was not anything related to the augur. He also felt insecure, being in his past unsuitable for combat self. He knew that the other him was there, and just waiting to be merged back together. Then he would be able to take control of the situation. He was looking between himself and his other half and counting the steps between themselves. "You still want to go back to him?" Shadow talked. "It's true he is a special person and a Dragonborn, and all that, but you are underestimating yourself way too much, young man." Shadow approached John, who was nervously stepped back. "It is not only you that you need him, but he also needs you. You may feel invincible when you are with him, but he also feels safe when he is with you. During the time I isolated you two from each other, how do you think you managed to crack the illusion that easily? Do you know that he was calling for you all the time?" "Calling for me?" John was confused. "Yes, the abnormalities that happened, the memories that kept popping up in your head. It was all him try to reach you." John reached another realization. "And the TV advertisement was you." "Indeed," Shadow said. "I tried to hold you long enough to test the boy, but I'll test you two together." Shadow turned around and walked to the darkness. John, who was worried about the other John, ran to him and shook him. The other John opened his eyes and shouted finally. "We need to get to," John was about to say something, but something interrupted him. Hiss. A strong hissing sound was heard all over the place. Chapter 146, Crouching Cat, Hidden Viper. Shadow turned around and walked to the darkness. John, who was worried about the other John, ran to him and shook him. The other John opened his eyes and shouted finally. "We need to get to," John was about to say something, but something interrupted him. Hiss. A strong hissing sound was heard all over the place. Both Johns looked at one direction and froze. "Is there a way we can merge back or anything?" Old John asked. "We fight first, then we can figure that out later." Red John took out a sword from somewhere. Old John was in a pinch as his confidence level in fights is a bit pitiful. "Do you have one for me?" he asked. Red John was in a loss for words. "Figure it out yourself," he shouted. "Oh, okay," Old John meekly responded. Meanwhile, the hissing became closer and a snake appeared. A large one. "Come at me, snake." Red John raised his sword and ran towards the snake head-on. Old John saw the scene and cold sweat covered his back. A 10-year-old version of John is now running madly at a large snake. He was afraid, yet he moved at Red John's direction. The large snake appeared to be 1 meter in diameter, and its length was unknown due to part of it is still within the border of darkness. Once it saw Red John running at it, it opened its mouth wide and jumped towards Red John. It was a total madness to face such a thing head-on. Red John was surely going to be swallowed, but in the last second, a fast shadow moved and grabbed him, pulling him away. "Let me go. I'll kill it." Red John was squirming left and right, trying to get free from Old John's grip. Yeah, go get us killed. You idiot." Old John stood up and pulled Red John away from the snake's second attack. "I'll skin that snake alive." Red John kept screaming. "That's a viper, you idiot. Look at its fangs." Old John was losing his patience. It was good that Red John wasn't that heavy. Red John finally agreed to evade the viper instead of facing it head-on. "We need to make a plan," Old John shouted. "Plan for yourself. I only need to land a hit on it." Red John was a real brat. "Fine, we need to make a plan for you to land a hit on it." And Old John was meek as ever. For some reason, they didn't understand how this brat added to that meek can make their splendid original personality. Anyway, the two were running around to evade the rampaging large viper. "Can't you use magic?" Old John asked. "Why would I?" Red John paused for a second. "Magic is much better than attacking it in close quarters, you idiot. It is just a pain. You do the magic." Red John and took out a shield from somewhere. Old John was trying to take out something from the very start of the battle, but he didn't know how to do it and was very dissatisfied. "Still, I can use magic?" Old John was surprised for some reason. He looked at his hand and called Chain Lightning, and it indeed came out. "Hey, I can really use mag." He was about to announce it, but the viper flicked him away with its tail. Red John clicked his tongue and put his shield up when the head of the viper cornered him. Clash, clash, groan. He was being attacked relentlessly and got pushed back, then got rammed by the viper's body and flew away. "Damn it! That hurts." Old John and Red John were not very pleased with the outcome. "That's the point of a fight, isn't it?" a voice replied at them. "Come out and face me, you coward!" Red John roared at the voice. I am sure he was kicking our asses the past few minutes while smiling smugly. Old John stood up and started looking around. He was now trying to use the situation rather than running around like a fool. He had himself and Red John. He can use magic, and Red John is summoning weapons as if it is some second nature in him. "Listen, if you can summon weapons, the focus on defense, leave the offense to me," Old John said. "Defense?" Impossible. Red John was still planning to retaliate at the Viper no matter what. You will get to beat him, but right now we need to do it together, you damn fool. Protect me and I will use magic. Old John said in a commanding voice. Red John, who was acting all brat a minute ago, nodded and ran to stand in front of Old John, summoning 2 shields each hand and donning himself in a heavy armor. Old John needed at least that protection to use magic easily. Round 2, Old John shouted as he started evoking magic. It was Stoneskin on himself and Red John, then 2 frost atronachs, and after that came the lightning attacks. Red John was holding the shields that were put together to reassemble one shield, and readied himself for impact. Once Old John started shooting lightning strikes one after the other, which mostly landed on the Viper. The Viper, that was ready to move anytime it senses danger. John and John were both ready to intercept its next movements, and with Old John's attacks, the Viper moved left and right while charging forward. It targeted Old John that posed the greatest threat, but a large shield met its charge head-on, and it was stopped. Magic rained it left and right, but the Viper managed to regain a foothold, or a tailhold in its perspective, by bringing all of its body to the fight and… Damn, that's big! Old John was barely keeping himself from panicking. I will skin it alive. And Red John was still a brat. The Viper stood and commenced its next attack. Red John wasn't pleased with the situation. Watch out for the flanks. Old John didn't understand, as he was already guarding the flanks with 2 frost atronachs, but it seemed that that wasn't enough when the Viper moved. The Viper crept around the 2 Johns and 2 atronachs, using the advantage of its length to surround them. Old John clicked his tongue and started getting ready for the next attack. The Viper's speed rose so much that it started to look like the gears of death, and it was tightening the area of the 2 Johns. More. Old John started conjuring as many frost atronachs as he could, and there were almost 20 of them around him. They all started to push at a different direction to keep the Viper from taking all the space. Red John saw how relentlessly Old John was fighting. Just a while ago, he was about to crap himself, and now he is taking the offense and the defense alone. Damn it! He shouted, and the instincts of the warrior kicked in. He discarded his shields and summoned a big hammer that didn't suit his size. With it, he struck the Viper's body so hard that the Viper made an agonized scream. Old John and Red John faced each other, and each of them readied an attack. Old John called upon lightning, and Red John charged at Old John. Once they were about to clash, Red John jumped over Old John, who unleashed his lightning attack to where Red John stood. The hammer smote and the lightning struck. The hammer hit away the Viper's tail that was about to attack, and the lightning burned away the Viper's eyes. *Fa*. The Viper screamed from pain, yet the bastard was too sturdy to be killed. Red John delivered the last blow for round 2 with a fuss aro da. Yah! Fly away, bitch! The Viper was sent away flying by Red John's shout. Old John and Red John jumped in a similar way and used the same middle finger gesture. It was disturbing to see it from a 10 years old, but Old John didn't think about it. For a second there both of their line of sight became higher than it was, and something felt strange. No, it felt familiar. It returned to how it was supposed to be. It seems that you found your way back to yourself. Congratulations. The voice sounded once again. So you are the one behind this headache, huh? John spoke in his haughty tone. Your color was so negative, man. That will teach you not to try to imitate the most handsome man in the world. The voice of Shadow laughed. It was true that the form Shadow appeared in was in John's true form, yet in a negatived colored effect. You are really something, aren't you? I am glad you made it this far. I guess round 3 won't be a challenge to you. See you then. The voice quieted, and the voice of the Viper came out instead. John, who regained his form, was standing there alone. He then used his mentality and summoned a hammer as the one Red John used. He, however, understood how these things can be summoned. He was in his mind realm, and he himself experienced it a lot with the Augur's communication methods and the system. He didn't need a handout like his two incompetent other selves. He could even manipulate the mind realm as he wishes, but it is a bit too costly on his mental power. Once the Viper appeared from the shadow once again, John clicked his tongue. "Tsk. I wanted the cat or some dragon at the very least, yet all I get is a limbless lizard." The Viper seemed to have got offended by John's words, and it charged full, and reached John in a second. It was opening its mouth in a frightening angle, yet John only moved his arm. The hammer struck on the Viper's head from the side and sent it flying. "Lightning cat paw strike." John spoke in a cool way while making a pose. The Viper landed far away, yet it seemed more powerful than the last round and readied its body to attack John. John only extended his arm, then pointed down with his finger. With his hand gesture, a large golden blade formed in thin air and pinned the Viper's tail. The Viper released its body towards John despite having its tail pinned. Each time it moves, a new blade forms and pins a part of it. Surprisingly, the Viper started getting thinner. The thinner it gets, the longer it extends its body. "Come on, not the gummo gummo devil fruit." John was at a loss for words, yet his black sarcasm was always there for him. Blades started forming and coming down at the Viper until its 1 meter in diameter body became much thinner, yet it seemed I bare reached John, and that was the limit. Sigh. A Viper is my guardian beast? What kind of joke is life trying to play on me? John walked and stepped on the Viper's neck. The Viper looked up to him and opened its mouth wide, revealing its terrible fangs and hissing in anger. John summoned a short blade in his hand, then he held it in reverse with the two and pointed it down at the Viper. The Viper made its last angry hiss, opening its mouth wide, and John coolly stabbed down with the sword. Chapter 147 The Dragon. Sigh. A Viper is my guardian beast? What kind of joke is life trying to play on me? John stepped on the Viper's neck. The Viper looked up to him and opened its mouth wide, revealing its terrible fangs and hissing in anger. John summoned a short blade in his hand, then he held it in reverse with the two and pointed it down at the Viper. The Viper made its last angry hiss, opening its mouth wide, and John coolly stabbed down with the sword. The sword stabbed down through the Viper's skull, and no resistance was shown. The Viper's body then dissipated in light particles and disappeared. "Humph!" John snorted as he stood his ground. "Congratulations! You splendidly passed. I guess I was worried for nothing." Shadow's voice sounded, then Shadow revealed himself. "Why don't you show me your true face?" John asked. "No, it is still too much for you." "Who says?" "I do. And you are. Let's just say you wouldn't come to be if not for me making you what you are," Shadow said in his lazy attitude. John narrowed his eyes. "Yet I thought you are whatever that test is about at first, but it seems I am wrong. Now that I think about it, the Viper is not one of the guardian beasts, the snake is. The fuck is going on?" John felt a bit of a threat from the entity in front of him, and started getting in a lousy mood. "Nah, no need to worry. I've been here from the beginning, it is no threat to you anyway. I was just pressuring you." "For what reason?" "Simple, you are the best of both selves. I simply separated them and wanted to observe how will you put yourself back together. You can thank me now." "Thank you?" "You are welcome," Shadow said with a smile. John wasn't pleased with Shadow's behavior. First, Shadow has an amount of control over him. Second, Shadow seemed to have immersed himself in John's memories. Third, Shadow has as much smugness as John himself. And John could tell if Shadow is a threat or not. "What is your motive?" John asked directly. "Simple, if you were to take that guardian beast or whatever challenge, the result wouldn't come as you predicted." "Huh! Since your reincarnation, the young soul wasn't perfectly merged together with the old one, you saw, it looked like a 10-years-old brat. What we did just a while ago was to boost it to grow normally instead of relying on the older soul so much. I am not saying the older soul is bad, actually, I never thought it would be good with magic and mental power. It is like adding not just knowledge, but power to the Dragonborn's soul and giving it even more potential. Shadow kept talking about how he wanted the Red John soul, which is the one with the Dragonborn power, to grow. The minds and the souls are connected, so the mind of Red John had to be adjusted so it can start to naturally grow faster and become more connected to the mind and soul of the reincarnation. Think of it as a barbarian game character and a mage game character. Now we put them together with all their states point combined, and the resulted barbarian mage is you. You were at least able to reach some sort of synchronization between the two, but now you are perfectly molded together. Amazing, right? Once we gave your minds separate choices, they got back together in their own terms this time. Still, what will you gain out of it? A lot. Shadow's expressions changed and smiled at John. We both are the final vectors in this. I trust you will do what is right, Shadow said as he returned back to the void. Oh, almost forgot, if one day you may encounter a problem that you really can't solve, I'll give you a handout as an apology, come find me by then. Shadow said and disappeared completely. TSK. Annoying, why do I have to do what you want? John clicked his tongue in dissatisfaction and started feeling a change of the place around him. Before he knows it, he was back at the location he was supposed to be at from the beginning. Back to the place I was in before I get dragged by Shadow. My hand just touched Nerina's. The difference about then and now is that I am back to my normal appearance, no one is around anymore, and the sky changed from the night sky to a burning fire sky. It is still the Alexandria I know though. Nerina, who seemed to have seen the past me and looked baffled. Hilda noticed the changes around the place and looked around. Hey beauties! So both of you are here? Like what I have done with the place. I was about to try to comfort them, as it seems I got late and Nerina had to come into the mind realm after us. I was about to say something but out of nowhere I was tightly hugged by Hilda. Looks like I really made them worried. It's all because of that asshole Shadow. I don't know what he is, but there are a lot of possibilities I need to discuss with someone knowledgeable once I get out. I am sorry for not believing in you, boy. I am really sorry. Hilda wasn't letting go of me any time soon. Nerina also joined the hug playfully. It seems some discussion was raised about something, but I don't think I have time for that now. My challenge is here. Roar. Alright, I hear you. I looked up to the sky and there was a something flying around. Spreading its wings to catch wind, extending its head and neck to pierce through the air, making loud roars in the sky. That's definitely one of them. Alright, ladies. There is a flying lizard situation in my mind realm right now. Mind if I go take care of it? Hilda and Nerina were having trouble speaking after seeing a dragon. Still, they recovered early after remembering that it is only in my head. I am going after it, I said as I started following on foot. The dragon was high in the sky, so it was impossible to catch up with it, but that was the point of the trail. Jonrad told me that one needs to either follow, withstand, or fight the guardian beast, but in the case of having a dragon, one must not fight it. That's why I started making sure of its direction and ran according to the layout of the area that I remember. Thank goodness I still knew about the alleyways and the shortcut. Before I know it, the dragon was flying over the sea. If someone saw a dragon flying over Alexandria like that, then it would turn into a total freaking out season. I kept laughing over the bizarre idea in my head. Hilda and Nerina followed me smoothly. It seemed that some laws of physics don't apply to them. The dragon turned in the sky and flew north, then started to land. I ran as fast as I could and found the dragon landing over the citadel of Quate Bay. A dragon on Quate Bay. The immersion level is reaching a critical state right now. The dragon opened its mouth and jumped and shouted an unheard word. It sounded like the Thursday but it wasn't. It was just a raw and a powerful mental shock wave. I could only grit on my teeth and endure the pain. It was a strong pain, as if I was chewing on a piece of glass, and a black hole growing in the center of my brain. I felt as if my head was being hit by a large thing. It was horrible. Jonrad told me about that part, and it was more painful than he described. After 2 or 3 rounds of withstanding the intimidation of the dragon, it spread its wings and flew up. Where is it going? It only flew up, then suddenly turned down and took a nosedive at me. Should I still watch it come at me? I was kinda terrified, but I kept saying it can't be true. It shouldn't be true, right? Well, no point in asking, it was already too late anyway. I could only wait to be flattened under the dragon, but Jonrad said it will be alright. Once I could feel it, the scene around me turned white. The next thing I felt was a white space, and nope, there is a clear sky above me, which means I am falling. That's all I could tell. I was having a free fall over the sea. Roar. A little help here, please. It seems that the dragon was also making another nose dive beside me. It was faster than me and got to the sea first, then dived into the water. I had no power to do anything, so I readied myself and dived after it. The scene changed once again. The next thing I saw, I was in the water. A bit too deep for someone who just fell in it, as I could see no sea surface though. The dragon was there, but it was as if it was made of golden light. It swam in the water as if it is flying in the sky. Strangely, I could do the same. I kept following it in the water, and it moved through a school of fish that dispersed away from the movements. The dragon started taking turns after turns, then it shot upward, as if falling in the other direction of the gravity. I could only harden my heart and follow its pace. Once I rose up the same way it did, I could see the water surface coming clearly, and with a booming sound, I was already out of the sea. The place I arrived at was a cave-like space with a lot of trees and flowers, as if it's a piece of heaven. I was no longer flying. I walked out of the water and saw the dragon in its light form standing there on a rock not far from me. I understood that I should follow. Once I arrived to it, the dragon jumped up and flew to another rock. I looked at it flying and ran after it. It flew one more time and headed far into the cave. It was a bit of a thick greenery around here, so I lagged behind a bit, but once I passed the thick greenery, my mouth almost fell off. In front of me was a valley of light dragons. There were a lot of them. I looked around, and it was a very majestic feeling. I could also see the dragon I was following landing on the other end of the valley. There was a road between the greenery, and it only meant one thing. I kept following between the big number of light dragon until I reached a stairway that was reaching up. There were no other way. After I took the stairs up, I arrived at a half-circular wall, and the dragon was standing on top of it. That was a word wall, and just like the dragon's, it was made of light. The dragon's aura seemed to not intimidate me anymore. I understood that I have already reached the end. Yet I still could feel something glowing in the middle of the word wall. I approached it and knelt down so that I can reach it. Once I realized what it is, I was, "You've got to be kidding me." Alas, the dragon didn't reply, and all I could feel was the light glowing intensely and my back becoming cold. I opened the eyes I closed, and in front of me, I saw a lot of familiar faces. Yep, I was back. Chapter 148 with you tonight. Sorry for not publishing in RSTUM. I am a bit tired and suffering from a lack of inspiration. I'll watch some pweds to get some new original content. Here's your chapter. Enjoy in Heartsuit. Underscore 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 underscore. I opened the eyes I closed, and in front of me, I saw a lot of familiar faces. Yep, I was back. John. Ha 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 ha. I couldn't help but laugh. This was great. It was so great that I was shaking with excitement. Why? Well, it was John Hild boy, you alright? A big hand held me up, that was Grandpa. Tormund, leave the kid to me. John Hild's son, you are not feeling hurt? Another hand took me away, that was Grandma. John, you're alright? Two soft hands pulled me to the side, that was Joel. Senior. Someone clung to my arm, that was Alina. Homayan. A black cat jumped on my face, that was Nefertiti. I was being surrounded by people from everywhere. Excuse me. I wouldn't mind if you're all cats, but get away please. Personal space, damn it. Took a while to push everyone away and I finally got to breathe. Aha, so that happened. That happened? Really, this can happen? Those 3 exclamations were about 3 different matters. First of all, we were not in the clan's mead hall anymore. Hilda, Jonrad, Joel, Nefertiti, Alina, Nurina, Grandpa, Grandma, and that guy Sigurd in addition to me, were all gathered in a room behind the mead hall. The room was majestic in a Nordic point of view. This serves as Grandpa's study. A lot of books were shelved, some treasures were put in view, and most importantly, the sword of the Firemane clan, Graham. Anyway, this gathering was about the abnormality that I seemed to have caused. After listening to them and they listened to me, everyone had their own impressions. The dragon is the best result possible. Got trapped in an illusion of a different world. Baby Talos. Fire WRMS. That was me. I started stating the facts about what happened in the mind realm. I didn't say everything, but I only said what I can make them understand. It was a place I dreamt of before. The illusion trapped me to think I was someone else, and when Nurina found me, I could return to my senses. Then a dragon appeared and I got my challenge. I didn't reveal anything about Shadow. It also seemed that Nurina and Hilda were unaware of it. Next, they told me what happened on the outside, and how a vortex of fire WRMS shot outside my body, and caused a serious mess until Jonrad used some method to open a path for Nurina to the center of the vortex. It seemed that the vortex died out in a few minutes after Nurina joined in. What seemed a bit funny was Nurina when she found Hilda eating in my mind world. From Hilda's description, it was a crunchy golden ball that was very sweet. That's Zalabia. Others call it Lakma. One of the few things that caused me a hard time to stay in my perfect weight limits in my past life. This conversation reached its end, but I was still impatient to experiment something with Jonrad. Grandpa, you can talk with bears, right? Hilda too can talk to wolves. I asked. Yes, kid. Don't you already know that? Grandpa replied. So, I and that old man Jonrad can't talk to any different kind of beasts other than the ones we are destined with? I asked once again. You, of all people, is more knowledgeable than anyone under High Hrothgar with the dragon's language. One doesn't need to be a firemane to hear it or speak it. Jonrad replied. Fu. I couldn't help but laugh and make that pose of Lelouch Lamperage when he puts his hand on his face and laughs evilly. Tell me, oh grandfather, and how can a normal firemane talk to beasts then? Simple. First, one needs to be acknowledged by a certain guardian beast and generally be over 16 years of age. Second, one needs to interact with a certain member of the species of that guardian beast or a close species until the souls of man and beast understand each other. Not even words are needed then. This is what we call friendship. One can only have one true friend. Grandpa said. Okay, so for example, the wolf can include hounds and dogs. Right. The bear can include dog bears. Also true. The snake can include an serpentine creature. The nodded. The whale can include the dolphins. Dolphins. They all tilted their head. I know about them. Jonrad, the large fishes from Hammerfell. Hilda said. Yes, but these are fishes. Nothing they have to do with whales. Jonrad said. You may have never bothered before, but I assure you they are whales. I'll ask about that a friend of mine, but what are you after here? Grandpa asked. So, for us firemans, how long do we need to interact with a certain beast to gain its friendship? Depends on the beast, how smart it is, the first impression. The same factors humans have, Hilda said. I see. So, for example, if you rescued a beast that you have an affinity with and you have no beast companion, this means you will understand each other quickly? They nodded. Yeah, almost within a second. Scotty saved a dog bear in Markarth once, and they are together ever since. Grandma said. So what the dragon showed me was true after all. What did the dragon show you? Grandpa seemed to be jumping from his seat. I smiled and went to Jonrad, then whispered something to him. His eyes opened wide. Are you sure? He held me from my shoulders and shook me. I nodded. Are you really sure? I said yes. After all, I have already been through it. Even before the challenge. What can I tell you? I am just super awesome by nature. If that's true. It is true, I am super Oz. Not that. The other thing. Oh. Yes, just try it. Are there any ones around? Not that much, I'm afraid. But the clan sometimes sell exquisite goods to rich people. Rarities like war boars and goers. There might be one around that suits me. Jonrad said and started thinking. The rest were trying to figure out what we were talking about. Jonrad seemed excited, and went out on his own after saying some fatherly words to me. What was that about? Hilda asked. Well, he should confirm the truth for me. If it is true, we will purge this clan of those puppy-loving heathens. I kept my Lelouch Lamperage Chuyuniak. The day has ended and all the youngsters except for Vilker finished their respective GBC. Guardian Beast Affinity Challenge. There was supposed to be a hunt celebration, but no need to talk about how everyone was exhausted because of the accident I caused. Jonrad went on the research I sent him on and the rest of us went home. Alina was going to follow, but Sigurd dragged her with him. Just for now. Anyway, someone was using the situation in her favor. Jull, this is my bed, you know, I said to Julliner, who was occupying my bed. In this household, my bed was only enough for me and Nefertiti, unless it is one of those times where I am not allowed to sleep on the bed. But now, Jull seemed to have missed our old habit. I want to be with you tonight, she said. Can there be any combination of words more beautiful than this in any language? I don't think so. Send nudes? Damn, you're right, author. Anyway, I saw that Jull was laying there and smiling at me. She wasn't playing any mind games and was stroking the sleeping Nefertiti beside her. What a grand sight! I sat on the side of the bed and pulled Jull at me. What do you want? She moved and got closer to me. She slipped between my arms and hugged me. You scared oblivion out of me today, she said. She seemed to have been worried, huh? I guess it was her first time seeing me in a tight situation. It's okay. My heart was feeling the warmth from receiving Jull's emotions. Still, something felt strange when I hugged her back as I looked at what she was wearing. It was only her sleep dress. No other layer of clothes was felt under it. Jull, are you wearing anything under this? I asked her. Not a single thing. She whispered them word by word. My heartbeat accelerated, and I got excited all of a sudden, but the walls in this house are thin. Remember what happened when Hill. She put her index on my lips and smiled. Let's go to that place, she said in a sweet voice. Fine by me. There was no way I can hold it back anymore. Little John was already chanting the spell. We held hands and sneaked out of the house, then rode a flame Atronak horse together until we reached the springs near the fire garden and picked an isolated one. The place was warm, but to my surprise, it seems that Jull has prepared the place beforehand. I found a picnic mat and basket with a big bottle popping out from it. So, you are taking all the advantages before Aluna gets to do anything. Sure, I was here first, she said and pulled me to sit down with her. We sat close to each other and opened the wine bottle she brought. I don't know when, but we started kissing all of a sudden like two lovers who missed each other so much. I ignored this feeling for a long time just not to burden Joel mentally, but now there is no need to be afraid. My girl is as strong, crazy, and beautiful as ever. Where were we again? Oh, the kissing. Although it is not the first time we kiss, but this time we a bit lewd. In the past, we just printed a kiss on each other's lips, but now is me invading her with that technique I learned from Elishka, and Joel is just oblivious. What should I say? I've learned from a pro. Joel didn't seem to have expected kissing can be done that way, and almost failed to keep up with me even though I went slowly on her, especially when our tongues got entwined in a vortex motion. Joel seemed to have begun overheating. I was holding her close to me all the time, and she was holding me tighter and tighter. Just feeling the skin of her lips on mine gave me a magical feeling that made me hold her so. Without further ado, let's get right into it. We were both dressed lightly, so it was no problem to undress without losing the heat we accumulated so far. Joel had one piece on her anyway, so she just sent it away in one move, and my oh my. Her pale skin, that is due to her being a half-Nord, half-Dunmere roots, made her the most beautiful thing under the moonlight. I can say as much as I want to say, but even with that eye patch, Joel is too beautiful and have her own charm that drives me crazy. As I pushed her down and came on top of her, another round started, and she was more accustomed to kissing now or not. As the heat intensified, she slipped up. How adorable! My woman should just be like that. What happens from here? She asked in a soft tone. You really don't know? You mean it is time? No, not yet. We should lubricate it first. How exactly is the? Just follow my lead, noob, I said as I carried her like a princess and went into the spring. So I should do it like that? Joel, who was over me in reverse, asked while not imagining how to do it. Yes, just like that, a lollipop. Of course, I was explaining the process of fellatio. We need to wash first, then come out to start the hardcore stuff. Meanwhile, I was having a grand sight of her cleanly shaved oven. This is the great 69 position. Joel's performance was that of an amateur, but Little John didn't go easy on her. I think me being with someone I love is still very much better. She was moaning and trying to seize it in her mouth, yet it was a bit hard on her to take that Little John that is by no means little anymore. I was supposed to change its name to Johnny Sins, but I grew accustomed to Little John. It was an interesting experience with Joel, but playtime is over. It is time, I said, and she looked at me with scared expressions, then put her hand over her crotch and seemed to be trying how will it fit. Joel was by no means short. Compared to a normal girl, Joel is tall. But to a fireman, well, I am a Titan born after all. Even after taking the troll's essence, Little John is by no means ordinary anymore. You won't even feel it, I said to comfort her, and took her on my lap in reverse. Her face was opposite to mine, and she had her arms around me. I lowered myself and her with me, then started whispering how much I love her. She was in the mood and started biting on her lip while I was playing with her down there. Once the temperature was warm enough, my penis started going in. Joel took it a bit of guard, but I already had her legs spread wide. She groaned and here when I popped her cherry. Joel's face was red, and she was holding the mat with a hand and biting on her fingers from the other. I started sliding my penis, and her breaths synced with my sliding movement. I suddenly grabbed her hips tightly, pushing her ass up enough to have a better grasp to hump. I then went away at her, thrusting so hard that I could feel her insides trying to accommodate me. She was so tight and it hurt a bit, but pleasure was so much easier felt for both of us. Joel was moaning. Every slide of my penis into her made her look as if she is feeling closer to a mountain of pleasure. She wasn't even aware of her sexy voice anymore. A layer of sweat covered her body, and her own juices mixed with mine dripped down our thighs, tickling us. I wasn't sure how long do I have until I come, but we were already at her end. I hurriedly changed the position, and to lay the both of us on our side, her back to me, then held her from her right thigh and went full speed. Jul's face was just beside mine and the expression on it was amazing. I couldn't see anyone with such crazed expressions as her. Couldn't help but kiss her though, as she was coming for the second time, and I was at the first. That was amazing. I couldn't help but say it as we already disengaged and laid together on our back. Jul seemed to have lost all the brain cells we managed to fix all that time and kept clinging to me. Well, that was just the start anyway. I am pouring all the love I can muster into her tonight. Chapter 149 Cats? At the spring, we were sitting in the water side by side. It was an exhausting performance, but it was nothing like none other. I didn't know it would be much better with someone one like. Meanwhile, the person in question was checking herself. "Will I get pregnant?" she asked. "Have any dissatisfaction with that?" "Not at all. If I carried your child before Alina, it will make everyone know who is the boss around." I laughed at her logic. Why would anyone care? Okay. You are the boss, no argue about that. In Skyrim, giving birth is a must. Like, if you have children less than me, you are nowhere to be compared to me. It also means a stronger clan, all that blah blah blah. Grandpa, for example, has 10 children alone. The one with the least children is Hilda, who has only me, and it seems that she and Jonrad are going for the second. Back in my past life, TSK. Let's not talk about that anymore. Children were a nightmare in that world. Anyway, Jul was sticking close to me and it became so quiet for a second. It was peaceful. Until Jul said something absurd. "Maybe we should ask Alina to join us next time. Just leave her alone. Her father is as annoying as mine. I bet he will keep a close eye on me and will acquire a detailed report of every interaction I have with her." Do you like her?" she asked out of the blue. I think I do. It is hard to tell. Ouch. I felt a strong pain. Jul was pinching my nibble. "How rude. To say you like another girl when you are with me." Sigh. "I love you," I said as I took her head in my embrace. She, who was tensed for a bit, let herself be hugged and hugged me back. "I know, idiot. It's not like I was jealous or anything." Oh boy. She switched personality again. Back to the house. We arrived at dawn, so of course, we were on high alert not to wake a soul up. I slept like a dead horse until noon. I think the time I spent with Jul took a toll on me. Jul didn't wake up and was completely in a recovery mode. "When will we return to Winterhold?" I, who was making breakfast instead of Jonrad, who haven't returned home just yet, asked Nerina. Hilda, who was lazing around, tensed up and looked at me. "You want to leave?" she asked in a hesitant tone. I knew she wouldn't want me to leave, but what can I do? I have a lot of things I need to finish. Well, there is that company of mine that needs management as well as the rest of the hold, as I am now the Shadow Jarl. There is also the messages that Ulfric Stormcloak keeps sending, and it seems that some people migrated to Winterhold lately. I also need to attend the opening ceremony of the new template of the 9N. For some reason, my memory was good this morning, and my replies summarized the freaking shithole I am about to be thrown in when I get back to Winterhold. Let alone I have to stop by at Windhelm to finish a matter of absolute importance. Fine, I get it, Hilda said, and seemed to be in a bad mood. "You can come," Nerina nonchalantly said to Hilda. Hilda opened her mouth, yet she didn't say anything and seemed to be in a loss for words. "Currently, you are not doing anything important to the clan, and all you do is to show up with your ship when there is trouble. You can do that from Winterhold, right?" Nerina said. Hilda pondered for a while. I'll think about it, that was her reply. I guess it can't be helped. The old man is not home yet. Well, it's your fault after all. You're the one who whispered something to him and made him go crazy over it. Then I guess it will take a while. This will take a while then, especially if he FAI. Suddenly the door opened and Johnrad came running. John Hild. Where is he? The first thing he did was to hold Hilda by her shoulders and asks about me. If he just looked to his side, he would see me. Still, he had a crazed look in his eyes for some reason. Hilda was taken aback and silently pointed at me. Once Johnrad saw me, he held me from the shoulders just like Hilda. Boy, it worked. Jull and Nefertiti were woken up by Johnrad's sudden raid. He caused a lot of ruckus to the point where Hilda had to use a knife to threaten him to keep it down. Now, in front of us was someone who joined us recently. A gray cat with green eyes and a splendid fur. It looked like a Siberian cat or a Norwegian forest cat with a top coat of glossy long hairs and a woolly undercoat. It looked majestic AF. Everyone, this is Gulliver, Johnrad said while introducing the cat on the table. No one reacted. I didn't react as I wanted to see their reactions too. This is a historical moment. Johnrad, I think you need to explain more, without getting excited, please, Hilda said. Our son is a genius, Hilda. As expected from the son of the most hands. Believe me, you don't want to take the topic there. Hilda raised the knife once again. Johnrad apologized immediately and looked at Gulliver. Ahem. This guy here is my partner, his name is Gulliver. Hilda pointed the knife at me. What did you do to your father? Nothing, I swear. I freaked out unintentionally. Then why is he having a cat and making the same eyes as you when you talk about cats? It is because his soul was cleansed by the holy cat Go. Believe me, you don't want to take the topic there. Hilda's knife got even closer. Cats are computable with the dragon. I said it in one go. Huh. Hilda seemed to not have got it yet. Like the boy said. Just like how direwolves and dogs are compatible with the wolf guardian. Cats are compatible with the dragon guardian. I'm impossible. Hilda retreated a few steps. Jull and Nurina opened their mouths wide. It was like that. When I followed the dragon in my mind realm, and it showed me to the Valley of Dragons. I saw a cat made of light too. It was a great revelation to me. The Dragon Guardian is a symbol of Alduin or can also be a symbol of Akatosh. Akatosh is the chief imperial 9 divines of and the dragon god of time. He is present in every Tamrielic pantheon, and the elves call him Oriel, while the dragons call him Borma, which means father. On the other hand, the Khajiit catfolk of Elsewhere call him Alkosh, the dragon king of cats, also known as the first cat and the great cat king of time. From this point, it seemed that there was a strong relation between dragons and cats, which is good news to me. It also explains how can I talk with Nefertiti even though I didn't take the trail before. Anyway, I am sure it is due to my dragon blood. Hilda stood up and looked between me and Johnrad. Dragons? Cats? The question was simple, but we both understood what she wanted to say and nodded. Prove it. And here where all the hard work began. After a lot of time and effort, we finally managed to prove that we really can talk to cats, and got dragged to the clan's mead hall. Daughter, what is that important news on this hour? Grandpa Tormund and the other top brass of the clan were all here. Father, it is about Johnrad and Johnhild. They can hear cats. Huh. No one seems to have any understanding of what's going on. It happened like this. Hilda started to tell Grandpa and the other what happened. Everyone was on their feet of how Hilda's story went, as Hilda is a bard and a storyteller. In the end, Grandpa looked at Nefertiti and Gulliver and was holding his head. For long years, the clan have searched for a beast computable with the Dragon Guardian. We have brought Guers, alligators, massive reptiles, and in the end cats. "Father, we should celebrate." Uncle Njord jumped from his seat and was excited. "Yes, Father. We should also decide what tribe of cats shall we adopt in the clan," Uncle Valley and Balder said in unison. The discussion heated up, but Grandpa, who seemed to have found his long-lost answer, was sitting silently. After a long argument, my suggestion to adopt mage sentry cats was accepted, and the clan took a decision to adopt the cats in the main fort itself. This day marked the day when one of the largest puppy-loving powerhouses started converting to the cult of the Holy Cat. Chapter 150. It has been a year. Okay guys. I'll go easy with my catechism from now on. Oh, it is true, I am a catechist. You already know that though. Life went on for the next day. I was watching my clan starting to send requests to the College of Winterhold and the other hidden clans to send any mage sentry cats they can give up for adoption. The mage sentry cats are one of the best breeds as they are sensitive to motions and can detect magicka and the beings that came from another realm. It is a great talent for security and a lot of people adopt them for that reason. One of the reasons there is a rarity in the appearance of the Dragon Guardian in the Firemane clan was that there is no dragons or any beast related to them around the Firemans. With cats around, that may change for the next generation of the Firemans. No one was expecting to see results in the next year or the one after it, but it would be a good sign of hope to produce more gifted children with the acknowledgement of the Dragon Guardian. Anyway, for the time being, I decided to stay for a few days and help around the clan. Grandpa gave me the task of teaching combat to the children. It was fun to be surrounded by my young cousins. I was fairly popular among children anyway. I must admit that I had a really good time. The kids were not really easy to deal with, but the universal rule of showing the kids how awesome you are always works. I went into a mock battle with Jull and started showing our skills with wooden weapons and unarmed technique. The kids were shooting laser beams from their eyes, but they really got disappointed when I told them they would learn the basic. I had to promise them to pass down a certain technique as a reward to make them get attached though. The next day was more of the same. I also took Jull on a date at the small town outside the clan's fort. There was actually some fun stuff going on there, and due to my red hair, I was treated as a firemane on the go. Kind of felt like a treatment of a noble. But Hilda's orders, I am to be John Dare in that village, even though I got announced as an adopted firemane. It was all to leak news about my survival as John Hild Firemane. Still, I got to enjoy honey treats and sweet rolls during the tour. Jull was also so happy that she wolfed everything she found on the spot. My head somehow started thinking about Alina, who will leave tomorrow to her clan and get to meet us later in Winterhold. This Sigurd was really pissing me off. "Wanna go home?" I asked Jull as there was already nothing to see in the town. No, let's go hang out for a bit. I also promised Freya to meet at the fort and bring you along. Bring me. You know I don't like having appointments without an earlier notice. It was one of my iron rules. Don't put stuff in my schedule that I haven't approved of, really pisses me off. Come on, just some drinking with the guys. The love of your life will be there too. I got tensed up from that love of your life. Was that Alina or herself she is talking about? Jull laughed playfully. Look at your face, I bet you were thinking, is it her or Alina? Sigh. Am I that easy to figure out? I actually meant Wulfr. Jull said something and started laughing like a maniac. Well, it is all good and fine. I don't feel like being ridiculed anyway. I don't. Humph. Anyway, I had to follow her in the end while thinking of a comeback at her. Strange enough, when we entered the fort, all the guards outside greeted Jull with smiles. I had to glare at them so they keep it to themselves. Seriously, this Jull. She can make friends with stones by now. It has been a year and now, look at how popular she can get on her own. I was feeling proud in my heart though. When we reached that fort, the area inside was a bit dim. It seemed like this is my first time to come, and the mead hall is closed, so the place was a bit desolate in the hallway leading to it. Once we reached the gate, I felt a faint presence, but it disappeared right away. Huh! I halted my steps and looked around. Joel, did you feel that? What? Someone is around that corner, yet they are really good at hiding. It must have been your imagination. No one comes here now. Or maybe some of the beasts. Let's go. I decided it's as Joel said and followed her, but just as I was about to take a step, I heard a few. Joel, wait! What is it? Someone is really there. They are so skilled to the point that they can hide from my detection. Really? We shouldn't tangle with that then. Huh? What are you talking about? You would be the first one to aim for the killing in a situation like that. Joel raised her brows and smiled idiotically. Oh, of course, but I am sure it is nothing to worry about. The place is super safe. That's what worries me. Why would anyone hide in such a peaceful place? I have a bad premonition. I evoked magic and walked towards the corner I am suspecting. Wait, can't it be someone who is doing something private? Joel said. In the hallway. Let's just not be late. Oh, look over there, is that a bat? I looked where she pointed, but I felt no presence. One the other direction, the presence I locked on before started moving. Got you! I ran like a ghost and charged in a second at the figure that appeared in the dark hall before me. Wait, John. Joel spoke, but I can't let go of that sneaky person right now. They fell for it. Once I held the target and pinned him to a wall, I could finally see his face. Ragnar. John Hild. That my cousin. What are you doing here, bro? I let go of him immediately. Nah. I was about to, I really need to leave. He walked towards the door that led to the fort's balcony. The fort has a balcony that connects some halls with the mead hall. Wait, what are you doing here at night? I was really worried. Joel, who caught up, stood beside me. Oh, if it is not Ragnar! Hey, Jelener! What are you doing here? She asked. I was just, he seemed a bit troubled. Oh, I remember now. Joel said and made an understanding face. Remember what? Lela told me that Ragnar sleepwalks from time to time. Sleepwalks. Lela is Ragnar's sister. She is 14 and always dresses like some sort of ninja. But to think Ragnar sleepwalks, I am sad for him. Hey, I know this potion that can help with that if you want it. Oh, no need. I am already the best in sleepwalking, no one can sleep and walk like me. Haha. I am leaving, he said and ran to the balcony. But, the best in sleepwalking? This guy sleepwalks without knowing he has that problem. Poor Ragnar. Phew. Anyway, let's head to the meeting place. Okay. I walked with Joel to the mead hall and wasn't really expecting anything at the moment. Once Joel reached the door, she pushed and it didn't open. Hey, John. A hand here, please. Okay. I pushed the door open and was about to look in, but a lot of presences were felt around me. I was shocked about how did this number manage to get concealed, and was about to evoke magic and ready myself for battle, but happy birthday, John. Turned out like that. It is my birthday, and I am the only one who forgot about it here. How nice of them. Truly. Since the day I graduated from the orphanage, it has been a year. It seemed that Ragnar from a while ago was to notify everyone with my arrival, and make sure I get surprised. Surprising me is a bad idea, guys. I was about to use the Thursday to warn the whole fort from intruders. I said. How mean. Freya didn't seem to like my reaction to the surprise. You guys don't know how keen his senses are. If it wasn't for Lady Nurina to hide us with magic, nothing would have passed his senses. Jelener said. Yeah, he really gave me a scare back there. Ragnar was still having a hard time dealing with what happened. But sleepwalking. Nice pull-off, Joel. Here, drink. Halfthor was amused by the story. The mood was nice. It was around 10 in the evening, and we firemen tend to sleep early, so it is nice of them to make a small party like this in that hour. Well, it wasn't that big. Just us, the young adults, and some of the older ones and some elders. Nerina, Hilda, and Jonrad were also present. Nerina signaled for me and I stood up and walked to her. "Happy birthday, brat." "Still with the brat?" "Well, you have been a brat around me for 15 years. It is hard to think that you are 16 already." "Yeah, 16. The party started getting quieter and everyone started to take their leave. Only a few remained, and they were Nerina, Hilda, Jonrad, Alina, Jull, and me. "Jonhild, I have heard about something strange from your mother. It is about your mind realm." Jonrad opened a topic out of the blue. "Oh, that?" I wanted to pick the right time to ask, but it seemed everyone was busy the past few days. Hilda followed up. "So, that question, huh? To tell the truth, I have prepared a lot of answers throughout my life. The situation is simple. No one can accept the idea of losing their child to another stranger that uses its body. It is an unbearable thought. I, who got reincarnated in this body of their son, is like a hijacker. That's what they may think. I know that Jonhild the original is still there and has a lot of influence on me as a whole person. Also, my two halves are accepting each other to the point they can't be separated anymore. I think Shadow made sure of that." Sigh. "Where should I begin?" Chapter 151, Revelation. Where should I begin? No one responded. They didn't seem to understand anything from the start. "Can you make us understand first?" Jonrad asked in a low tone. I laughed without making much noise. Alina and Jull were sitting together at a table and seemed to be discussing something. My three parents don't seem to want to involve them in this conversation. I understand that they are worried, but I have already told Julliner everything. Maybe she is the only person who knows the whole truth about me other than the Augur and Shadow. I wasn't planning to tell anyone else the ultimate truth, and that includes my parents. I love them and I don't want them to think of me as something different. But that will leave another problem in my heart. I want them to love me as their son for the one I am, not the one I want them to believe. I am a bit conflicted here. Sigh. Fine, the place Hilda and Nerina saw in my mind realm is a place from a different realm. Another realm of existence from outside Mundos, if I dare to say. I am not sure about many things when comes to that world and this world, but I can tell you for sure that the two places didn't hear of each other. The three looked at each other and started thinking of my words bit by bit. "So it is a different place." "Pretty much so." "How far away from here?" "No idea." "And have you ever been there?" "Nope." "Huh?" "Well, I, as Jonhild, have never been to that place. That's the truth." "You are telling me that the place that your mind is mostly attached to is a place you have never been to." "Exactly. How is that possible?" "It seems that the trio can't understand anything on their own." "Well, I am not sure what is the correct answer, as I also wondered about that world since I was young." "You also don't know?" "Well, I don't know a lot about that world. I started seeing it in my dreams when I was young." "That's not a lie. I saw many dreams of my past world when I was young. Back in the day, I was depressed about being reincarnated without having to know how I died. I made peace with it after 5 years of my reincarnation and started to blend in the new world without thinking too much about what happened. I mean, I thought about what happened, but I didn't find any possible explanation until I heard some theories from the Augur. "So this world, you only visited it in your dreams." "It wasn't entirely like a visit or something I can freely move with. I only have memories of a different human who lived in that world and died there. I saw all his memories and arrived at a weird conclusion. And it is. This person was me from a life I lived in the past." And that is when they turned speechless. Reincarnation is not a strange thing in this world. I mean, it doesn't usually happen, but it happened in the form of people known as the serene and the Nerevarine. The serene are the reincarnations of Shazar, who is the imperial representation of the missing god Lorcan, who the Nords call Shor. These serene left their names in the history for the great deeds they have done, such as Pelinal Whitestrake, Harold Harrybreeks, Ismir, Hans the Fox, etc. The Nerevarine, however, is the legitimate reincarnation of Indoral Nerevar, as well as the player character and protagonist of the Elder Scrolls III, Morrowind. Indoral Nerevar was a Chimer hero who lived during the First Era. He was a champion of Azura. He also unified Chimer and Dwemer, following the overthrowing of the Nordic Empire. However, after the discovery that the Dwemer were creating the Numidium, he led his people against them in the War of the First Council and died at Red Mountain. Chimer, the race that the Dunmer, Dark Elves, originated from after being cursed by Azura. Numidium, colossal humanoid golem created by the Dwemer, said to have been 1,000 feet, 304, 8 m tall. These are known stories to people like Nurina, and also is not something that Hidden Clan can be oblivious about. It made them sink into some deep thinking for a while, but soon Hilda spoke. So, that person you was in your past life, was he someone great? I narrowed my eyes and tried to trace her line of thinking. It seems she thought of the past me as a great person. I am not sure about him. He didn't do much in his life to be regarded a hero or anything exceptional. All I know, he was a person who studied law and practiced it as a job. He also knows about the Elder Scrolls. Elder Scrolls? Jonrad opened his eyes wide and looked deeply at me. In that case, you know where the Elder Scrolls are. Naturally. And you are going to secure them. When the right time comes. As long as there is no need for them, it is better to keep them hidden as they are. Nurina smiled and shook her head. So, all that talk about your past life wasn't just a way to tell the people to screw off. Am I that kind of person? The talk continued for a while and no flag was raised so far. So, to sum it up, you inherited the knowledge of your past life, and it will lead to the 3 Elder Scrolls of the prophecy. That's how it is. They all nodded and looked at each other. Regarding the other thing about dragons, it is not true, is it? Jonrad asked. Well, I guess telling them will keep them safer when the time comes. I don't want to be the only one preparing for the crisis after all. After a while of discussion, I checked with Alexa system, and it was around 1:15 a.m. right now. My parental trio went into a heated discussion with each other about the future threat. I didn't press the matter as me being a Dragonborn, but Jonrad was already showing off his knowledge about dragons as a former Blade agent. It seems that the Blades have inherited some techniques to seal the dragons or whatever they can do. It doesn't matter with me anyway, as I am the ultimate mean to kill a dragon. The only thing that was in my mind right now is about how to prevent the major damages. If a dragon decided to attack a city in the middle of the day, I don't think your normal run in the Milltown Guards will be able to do it. I mean, these guys are well equipped and trained, but fighting a dragon with that size of Parthernax is something ridiculous. This is the time where the Nords will need magic the most, despite their hate for magic and mages. Also, one of the matters that made me feel annoyed was the matter of mobility. The dragons can come and go whenever they wished for, which means, if I am in Winterhold and a dragon attacked Markarth, then they are royally screwed until they put down the dragon by force. Also, the dragon won't be dead, as it still needs its soul to be absorbed for it to completely die. Dragons can be revived by a certain Thursdayum, as long as their souls aren't absorbed yet. The difference between the reality and the game is vast, and I need to be well aware when would a dragon appear and how to reach it as soon as possible. Dragons in the game were a random event that strikes based on the location of the player. It only increased to my headache as I tried to explain these issues to the 3 in front of me. Of course, I didn't say the word game or any of what was in my mind. I only explained how vast this task is. One more thing that added to my problems was this. What about the dragons outside Skyrim? That was a question asked by Hilda. Solstheim will be one of the places outside Skyrim that will also suffer from the dragon break, as far as my knowledge may go. The dragon's main task will happen in Skyrim. I am not sure about the other provinces other than Skyrim, but I guess Cyrodiil, Hammerfell, Morrowind, and High Rock will manage to do something about it on their own. They saw my point and nodded. Regarding Black Marsh, Elsweyr, Valenwood, and Somerset, this will be the Dominion's problem. Let's not worry about them. Hilda said, and we nodded. Black Marsh may not be a part of the Empire of the Dominion, but they assisted the Dominion into weakening the Empire, and invaded a lot of land in Morrowind. I may ask for someone's guidance to help us with task. I don't want to do so, but I will only if it is necessary. Nurina said in a grim expression. You are speaking of, I was wondering who can make Nurina this vexed. The crazy old hag. This is one of the names Nurina calls her master with. I am very curious about that person. From Nurina's tales, her master is an overpowered person with a short temper and a tendency to kill whoever she doesn't like. Nurina, who normally is not afraid of anything, can have nightmares because of the traumas her master caused her. I really want to meet that person. As the talk was about to reach an end, someone came into the fort running. Lady Hilda. It was a man from the clan's guards. What happened? Beak? Hilda ran to the man. Lady Hilda. A big problem. A guard came from Kynesgrove. An elder mammoth broke into madness. It is raging all over the place. Chapter 152 Unease. Big thanks to. When I googled the name, it got translated as Alexei Ilanov. Thanks, comrade. Also about the break I took, I will explain it at the end of the chapter. An elder mammoth that went mad. This is what we called in my past life shit has gone south, and in the worst way it can possibly go. Imagine it as an unmanned train or a falling plane, a disaster that is simply unstoppable. The only way for it to end is to fall, and it will do damage. Shit ton, lots of damage. Elder mammoths are huge. Not like an African elephant huge, it is double the size, double the tusks. Yes, like 4 tusks. I am not talking about the Gomphothere or anything from my past life. It is just like that colossal and primordial being that lived through the ages. An elder mammoth's age is around 300 to 400 years. Gomphothere is an extinct type of elephants. https://ibb. co/i6nzgf freaking awesome. When the elder mammoth reaches the end of its lifespan, there is a chance that it would feel an agonizing pain to the point that it would start rampaging around to find its peace. This is one of the reasons why the elder mammoths get to be hunted on a periodic pace. There is nothing like zoologists in this day and age, but the nearby Nords normally keep an eye on the situation to keep the elder mammoths in check. Still, for a mad one to appear, it must have come from the deeper lands in the marshland of Eastmarch. I'll go wake them up. Hilda didn't wait after she got the news and ran deep into the fort. She has to wake up everyone. Sigh. I am not in the right mindset to hunt an elder mamo. Jonrad seemed to want to bail out. I am going, I said. Well, I am coming then. He went back on his words. It is not really necessary for us to join the hunt. Jonrad and I can bail out whenever we like. We are born under the serpent stars, and we are not bound by the rules after all. Still, I wouldn't laze around. I am coming too, I will just observe. Alina and Jull, bring my tools. Nurina also joined in. She has her own agenda that she wasn't interested in hiding. After some time, the hall became busy again. 20 of us firemen were all geared up and looked majestic. Grandpa was leading the bunch, and the guards were loading barrels of javelins on the horses. I also got geared up and carried my weapons. This will be a good chance for you to learn more about the flame magic that the Dragon Guardian grants, Jonrad said. It is true, if I remember correctly, the Dragon Guardian makes the fire resistance and effectiveness much stronger. For a Dragon Knight like Jonrad, this is one of the core aspects of his strength. Anyway, most of the adults were ready for the ride. But once we reached the stable outside the fort, I almost stumbled from the surprise. In front of me, there were over 10 flame Atronach horses. You guys, you learned them in less than a week. Haha. Nephew, you did something great. Those who don't have companion beasts that can be mounted can use these fancy flame Atronach horses now. Uncle Tyr was grinning ear to ear. He meant that someone like Mom can ride on Ilva, but someone like him, who can't ride his snake, is now able to ride my luxurious flame Atronach horses. Still, I only gifted the spell to the clan a week ago. But to think 10 has already learned it. I totally underestimated the fireman's lust for anything that has the word fire or flame in its description. Let's not wait anymore, open the gate. Grandpa gave the order as he was riding on a large black bear, and we all followed him. The trail went as usual. We were about 20 members of the family and 100 members of the guards in addition to Nurina, Alina, and Jull. The plan was simple: search, lure, and ambush. The road to Kynesgrove was not long, and we reached the place in less than an hour. Aunt Scotty talked with the locals, and we saw the amount of damage caused by the mammoth and the tracks it left. Looking at its footsteps gave me cold shivers over my spine. That's almost a meter in diameter. How large is the damn thing? Don't ask me. This will be worse than expected. Jonrad wasn't happy with the situation either. Grandpa looked at Uncle Forsetti and the later sent his owl to survey the place. The Owl Guardian grants the trait of sharing the sight with the companion owl, as well as making the sight much better. One of the most enviable gifts one can get. I can do the same with my familiars, but it is not as perfect. Found it. It is near the river fighting with another wild beast. I understand. Hilda, did you find a good spot for trapping it? Yes, father. Northwest to our sacred ground, there is a lake that has a bit of a small cliff north of it. If the mammoth ran to its direction, it will not see the lake and will trip over in it. The clan's sacred ground is Bone-strewn Crest, a small hill with a word wall in the center of Eastmarch. The place will later be a dragon lair just like Mount Anther, the sacred ground of the Moonblade clan. So be it. Who will be on the luring team? This is where the arguing will come. Some of us need to go and make the mammoth chase them until the trapping spot. I'll go. Uncle Tyr stepped forward. I'll go too. Vladimir also stepped forward. These two learned how to use the flame Atronach horse spell, so they are confident in its speed. I'll go too. I stepped forward. John Hild, you don't need to. Hilda almost freaked out on me. I'll go with him. Jonrad stood beside me. Hilda sighed and shook her head. It wasn't a situation a mother and a wife would want to be in. Well, it was 4 of us to do the taunting now. If I remember correctly, I got reincarnated in Skyrim, right? Why are you asking me that question? Well, I went through some weird ritual when I drank a weird potion and saw a weird dragon made of light, then became some sort of beast master, and now I am tracking a mammoth with a spear in hand while crawling on the ground between the dried grass. I still don't know how to link that with the reincarnation. Well, the exact same scenario happened in Far Cry Primal. It just made me wonder. What is Far Cry Primal? Jonrad asked me. Oh. Never mind. Is this close enough? We were stalking the mammoth. It seems to have got into a fight with some bears from the area. The bears were squished though. Yes, the trail is fresh. What should we do from now on, Uncle? Vladimir and Jonhild, you two survey the situation from afar. Make sure that nothing or no one gets involved. Tyr and Jonrad started giving Vladimir and me some instructions as the both of us were the ones to keep watch over the situation. "Is it me or this situation is not right?" Vladimir asked me. "I have no idea. What situation are you talking about?" "Look at the mammoth. It is not that old." "How do you know?" "There are signs to determine the age of a mammoth, such as that, but this one is just not that old to fall into madness yet." I didn't understand what he meant until he started explaining the aging signs and all the mammoth-related stuff I don't know. "Shouldn't we inform them before they make a move then? It won't matter anyway, they have noticed from the beginning, and it will make less difference. The mammoth is confirmed mad." I nodded to what Vladimir said, but he still looked uneasy. About 100 meters away, there stood a gigantic creature around 5 meters in height and was moving around in anger. The ground was obliterated by the mess that mammoth caused. The area itself doesn't have many trees, but nothing was standing in front of that angry fellow. The problem is that Kynesgrove village was around the corner, so that mammoth should be lured in the marshland once again, so it can be hunted with ease. Tyr and Jonrad made sure to keep their flame Atronach horses hidden close by, so when things break into a total mess, they get to make a run for it. Once they were close enough, they started crawling on the ground with javelins in their hand. The mammoth was just about 20 meters away from them when they stood up and threw the javelins at the mammoths, but a thundering cry sounded from the mammoth as it raised its head and snot high from the pain. It turned around only to see Tyr and Jonrad running to the other side. Rage appeared on the mammoth's face and it started to move. "Let's go." Vladimir and I also started to run to our horses. And the pursuit started. Our advantage was being easy to spot at the night because all our horses were flame Atronachs, and it was the version that I developed, so not getting caught by the mammoth was not that hard. "Just keep riding south, look ahead and watch where you go," Jonrad said. I was riding in the lead according to the formation. It didn't take much time, and we could see the signal of Hilda and understood where the trap exactly is. My turn. I rode forward faster than the rest towards the trap, and cast a spell once I reached it. The trap was a small rock slope hidden by some long grasses. The mammoth is tall, but it won't see it anyway. As the person who reached the trap first, there were only 5 seconds for me to cast 2 expert-level spells. Not an easy task. "Okay now." The other 3 joined me already and jumped from their horses to ride the flame Atronach hawks I just conjured. Once all of that was done, the hawks rose in the sky and attracted the mammoth's attention. It was now looking at those flaming birds the same way it looked at the horses. It even became faster. "Damn! That thing! Just go higher!" I increased the flight speed as much as I could, and we barely survived the tusks of one angry elder mammoth. It was still following, though. It didn't look down as we, its target, were going up. That helped when the mammoth approached the trap and, thud splash, it fell just like that. Under the trap was a big muddy pit-like pond. The mammoth fell from the height of 2 meters and big splash erupted. Now! The firemen appeared from their hiding and started the assault. Those who could use magic used it, those had had javelins through it. It was an all-out attack against the mammoth, but the mammoth stood as it was nothing. An angry cry rumbled as the mammoth trumpeted as it stood with ease. No one expected this. Damn it! Is it really a dying mammoth? How can something like that be mad at the prime of its strength? Tyr roared and asked me to direct the flame Atronach hawk down. "Fine, you 3 go down, I will bug it from above." The flame Atronach hawks landed on the ground, and the 3 passengers ran to help the rest. My part was to buzz around the mammoth. It would be better to divert its attention towards something it can't reach. Still, why do I feel this unease? The answer came just a second later, though, with a roar from another angry mammoth. Chapter 153 Mystery. Impossible. Another one? The clansmen were in shock. This is not a subjugation anymore. John, see where that came from? Someone called, and I was already doing what he said. I rose higher with the flame Atronach hawk, and didn't even need to use a detection magic to tell where it was coming from. Another elder mammoth coming from the south, a bit smaller and as mad as this one. I shouted my voice out. What? Another one is mad? Take cover and climb the high rocks, make every spear count. John, lend me one of your birds. Jonrad called at me. I still haven't banished the remaining flame Atronach hawks, so I sent one to him. Boy, we need to distract that one together until the others finish of the big mammoth. Easier said than done. I will try. We directed the flame Atronach hawks to face the coming mammoth. It was a bit slow but very unstoppable. John Hild, don't be stubborn and use flame magic this time. Neither lightning nor frost will do anything to that thick furball. TSK. I was going to do that move I did on the Bloodsails ship back at Winterhold. What move? I was planning to jump on its head with a thunder cookie. Back then, it made the ship almost flip upside down. Huh. Just that? Don't you remember that time when you were being chased, and I set the whole ship that was chasing you on fire in one go? Old man, that was just setting a ship on fire. Just try that spell I taught you. Fine, we will go around it in circles and give it hell. We were flying above the newcomer mammoth, and started evoking the same spell. This is one of Jonrad's masterpieces. A spell that follows the immediate will of the caster. It works like any flame magic spell, and it is very much similar to the most basic spell, the Flames spell. Its brilliance comes with the control over it. It is cumbersome, but as long as the caster wills, it can be shaped into anything. It can be sent as fireball projectile or a channeled spell. As long as there is magicka within the caster, it can be cast. After the evocation was complete, we directed the flame Atronach hawks to fly around the mammoth in circles. Its attention was full attracted to us, and it raised its snout to catch Jonrad's hawk, but it was evaded skillfully. Now give it all you have. Jonrad shouted, and we cast the spell together. As if our thoughts have overlapped, we father and son made two strong streams of flames akin to a dragon breath, and shot it at the mammoth. The mammoth was too big and too slow to evade this. Once the flames landed, the whole mammoth was caught on fire as if being cooked alive. It was a cruel way to kill an animal, but it was the only way for two mages to deal with such a threat. Strong cries sounded from the mammoth. At first, there was a strong anger as it was helplessly trying to retaliate, then it became cries of desperate madness. I was shocked. Why do I seem to understand it that much? It is not like my conversations with Nefertiti, but I was very able to understand the emotions of the mammoth. What is going on? For a second, my magic was about to be cut short. John Hild, watch out! Jonrad's voice woke me up, and for a second I saw something flying at me. I subconsciously commanded the flame Atronach hawk to evade, and made a 360 with a dive. Before I know it, I was already too close to the mammoth. Dangerous. The hair of my body was all erected when I felt the immense danger from getting too close to that angry mammoth. I continued the maneuver in the air, and tried to go up before the mammoth can catch me, but the fucker responded even faster. It stood up on its rear legs the same way the other mammoth did and obstructed my escape path. I was to fly up and go over its back, but I will crush into it now with my speed. John Hild. I could hear Jonrad shouting at me to watch out, but I was already calculating my next move. Back when I was a kid in my past life, I loved riding bicycles. There was that lesson I learned after crashing into a car once that trying to slow down or stop will surely get me hurt, so the best way was to go faster than the accident itself, and that's how I will do this. I didn't try to fly up anymore and flew down, a sharp down. Once I reached the ground, I took another sharp turn to fly with flame Atronach hawk as low as possible. My aim was to pass from beneath the mammoth. Still, the sight of the mammoth above me made me feel so scared if that thing went down on top of me. I wished I could use teleport right away, but the spell takes time to cast. I don't have put less than a second to act now. Once my resolve firmed, I shouted a Thursday would. With the voice of mine, the world around me felt like it was being wrapped, and the space ahead of me looked funny for a second. Then it all came back as it was, and I was about 10 meters away from the flame Atronach hawk. I was one in the mammoth that was crashing down on it. Boom boom. With a booming sound, the mammoth stomped with its forelegs, and with another booming sound, the flame Atronach hawk exploded. The mammoth cried from the fire once again, and it gave me enough time to run away as fast as I could. That fur ball tried to hunt me with a tree trunk, then stomp on me with all its weight. Pretty scary. I heard on some documentary that elephants are so smart, and of course mammoths should at least be like them, but this one is murderously smart. John Hild. Are you alright? Johnrad looked worried sick as he flew to pick me up on the flame Atronach hawk he was using. Damn it. I almost lost one of the 9 lives I had over this. As long as you are alright. Hey, don't do that scary maneuver once again. Your mothers will skin us if they heard of it. Johnrad was a bit pale, as it seemed he was on an emotional roller coaster. Will skin who again? But for some reason, I heard Nurina's voice in my head. Huh? Who is that? Johnrad started looking around. A telepathy link was established. Calm down. That's Nurina speaking directly to our heads. That's not funny. I don't care what are you guys doing, but we are finished here. What is your situation? We are having it hard here. Can we have some support? We will come right away. Nurina's call was heard by both of us, and we nodded to each other. I once again conjured a flame Atronach hawk, and attacked the mammoth with the same plan as before. It started crying once again, and I was still able to understand it. The fear it developed to fire was starting to take over its emotions by now. I was having no pity for it this time, though. It suddenly cried loudly and fell on its side. Is it over? We need to get closer to know so. We indeed went closer. Once we arrived just about 4 meters away from it, the mammoth appeared to be still breathing heavily. Damn, this is not natural, Johnrad said. Do you feel it too? The mammoth? It is your first time. Maybe because you are used to your cat and the more domesticated animals and the clan's companion beasts, so you may not notice it right away, but the Titanborn bloodline gives some empathetic power to commune with the wild. It is something that was supposed to be part of all the Nordic clans, but it is the strongest in ours. I see. Is it because of the creation of human theory? Indeed. Us Nords are the first men. We were created by the breath of kine. The same way beasts were created, and with the Titanborn bloodline, we can understand the hearts of the beast. I see. So what was the unnatural thing you found out just now? See for yourself, the mammoth, it is not ragging anymore. I opened my eyes wide and looked at the mammoth we just fought. By a bit of concentrating, I could feel the emotions of the mammoth. Surprisingly, it was not as angry or as berserk as before. It only felt tired and wanted to rest. With all the wounds over its body, it wasn't feeling negative at all. It even wasn't that damaged or wounded. Indeed, some parts were charred and they may leave a few scars, but it was having any problems now. What in oblivion is going on? Is it feeling peaceful all of a sudden after it went mad? I wasn't able to keep up with anything anymore. Johnrad held his chin and shook his head, not understanding the situation too. A few seconds later, we could hear the sounds of someone coming. It was Hilda and the rest. For some reason, they carried the same expressions as us. Grandpa came forward and heard what happened from Johnrad. He then said something that added more to the mystery. It is indeed strange, but there is only one thing I can understand. These mammoths weren't mad to begin with. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc. Chapter 154 Troubled Times 1. The Mad Mammoths. These mammoths weren't mad to begin with. Grandpa's words were right on point. The mammoths that went mad seek death to rest from a certain pain, as far as we know, but there was nothing heard before about the mammoths being cured of that state. This only meant that the mammoth returned back from the madness for the first time in history, as far as we know, or their madness wasn't natural. They were triggered by something. We all looked at the one who spoke, and that was Nerina. Archwizard Nerina, do you have an explanation? I am not sure myself. It was fascinating to witness a mammoth in its rage, but that wasn't normal. By the signs I read, this mammoth over here is too young to go on madness. Something or someone must have caused it to go mad. Don't you think so too, John? Why is he asking me? I am not sure why she said that, but I managed to take a hint. Right as I got the idea, I turned around and walked to the mammoth that was lying on a mound over there. I didn't even get triggered at me at all. Hey, Furball. I need you to keep calm, no one will hurt you anymore. The mammoth opened its eye and looked at me for a second, then closed it calmly again. It somehow meant that it is fine with me getting close. Uncle Balder followed me closely as he was to act with me. He is the most knowledgeable one in the clan about the animals, and he even developed some medicines regarding their cases. After a fast examination, he already guessed up what was going on. It seems what Archwizard Nerina said was true. The last mammoth has traces of a strange substance around its snot. It seemed that these two hotheads have caused a high amount of heat to purge that substance out of the mammoth's body. Truly, idiots can be marvelous sometimes. Hey Balder. You can call Johnrad whatever you like, but John is a genius. I apologize, Father. I don't understand why, but Uncle Balder usually treats the other people coldly. And regarding what Grandpa said about me being a genius, it is not only my case. Every firemane is a genius. Still, for a pacifist like Uncle Balder, he doesn't like warmongers like Johnrad the most. He may be the weakest uncle, but he is a poet and a medicine master. His knowledge of alchemy is over what I have seen in even the college. Anyway, he could determine that the mammoth was indeed acting under the effect of some drug that it inhaled. From the engravings on the tusks of the mammoth, this one was raised by giants. The giants value mammoths the most and will never hurt them. Which means this was done by a man. But for what reason? The conversation started going around in circles, and most of the people around were trying to deny the fact that it may be what they think of. If what I am thinking about is correct, then this matter won't end by just this mammoth here. More will appear very soon. I said what was in my mind. Once I said that, the people around me looked at me with displeasure. Of course no one would want my words to be true. Oblivion. Even I don't want them to be true. But reality has proven to be a bitch as usual when we heard another loud cry of a mammoth. Those who looked at me in disdain before glared at me this time. I could only shrug my shoulders saying, I told you so. You jinxed it, John. Even Jull and Alina, who were carrying Nerina's tools, as if her maidservants, were glaring at me. It seems like what we didn't want to think of is true. I think we have to fend off the mammoths that will come and send a team to investigate. Grandpa started putting a plan. Any volunteers that will go with John? Hey, old man. Why should I go? You jinxed it, boy. Rules are rules. What rules? And since when do the clan's rules get applied on me? The punishment does. Tisk. These people. Fine. I am the only one that can fly anyway. Who wants to come with me? Good news, we will fly. Bad news, we will fly. The family members in front of me looked at each other and sighed. I am coming, Johnrad said. No. They will need you to use the strong flame magic to finish the mammoth faster, I said. I will come then, Hilda said. Okay. Hilda is easier to deal with that Johnrad anyway. You guys need to call reinforcements. This matter should be handled as someone trying to draw some of us out to deal a blow to us. I don't know what strategies you use in that situation, but the number we have here is not promising to fend off 2 more mammoths. I started bossing the firemen's around. We were around 120, but that is still not good. Only 20 of us are from the main house, and we are the true fighting force around here. The soldiers of the clan will soon not be able to keep up. Grandpa nodded to my words even though he didn't want to consider it a direct attack on the clan. What worried me the most was the power of the clan itself. It is by no means bad, and every one of the elders can defeat me in less than 3 moves if they went serious. The thing that worried me was how massive and strong these mammoths are. I tried to compare their size to a dragon like Parthernax, and really got me bad. Parthernax is gigantic, and there is no clue that the other dragons won't be as large as him. If that power level of the mammoth can make us troubled like that, then the future where dragons will be on every mountain peak is something apocalyptic for the current-day Nords. The firemen's can make it. They may have a free of charge Dragonborn if they encounter trouble, but they can fend off a dragon if they worked like hell together. Anyway, I think it is time to stop these depressing ideas. I was already done conjuring the flame Atronach hawks and rode with Hilda. The mammoth that was lying around nearby moved up before I could fly, and everyone tensed. However, it didn't move at us. It picked the direction where the angry mammoth cry came from just a while ago and started moving south. What is it doing? Hilda was worried about the situation. Hey, Furball. Where to? The mammoth trumpeted as a response and hasted its pace ahead. That mammoth. Has it just told you to follow? Seems so. It doesn't want to meet its drugged kin as it seems and wants to lead us somewhere. I urged the Atronach to fly and follow Furball. It was Hilda's first time to fly, and she seemed to be excited about it. She kept pointing at the places she knew from above, and it was rather getting annoying. Soon enough, we saw a mammoth 200 meters away, and it was raging around and destroying stuff. This was the one we heard after I jinxed it. Good news is, it is not out of the marshland and can't be considered a threat anytime soon. After a while, we say corpse of a mammoth, and it seemed that this one got beaten up by another mammoth. Furball convoyed its sadness in a low sound. This is more chaotic than we thought. I don't want to say, I told you so. Seems like the bigger mammoths could rage around all they wanted and the smaller ones started escaping. I think the giants are trying to deal up with the situation too. It won't matter to them if it is this human or that human. A human in troubled times like this will always be met with hostility. I said as I didn't really care about giants too much. Those who played Skyrim must have experienced the giants' space program trauma. A bug in the game that can get any high-leveled played killed. Just one hit and you will fly so high that you can see the whole damn Skyrim from above. Who said you can't reason with giants? Hilda replied at me with something that made me taken aback. Can you? Naturally. Naturally. I have a friend. A giant friend. Yes, her name is Shuna. Shuna? Is that a giantess name? As far as I know, it is hard to reason with giants. There was that annoying quest in the game where the player will try to trade a goat from a giant called Grok. This is the only possible interaction I know of in the game, and the names of the giants are weird and primitive, so it was hard to deal with these folk. Even their language is unique and no one mastered before. For the lack of interest. So, that friend of yours, can she help us with the investigation? If she didn't find out that the situation is related to us, so make sure not to say something weird around her if we met her, she can understand the common language very well. Okay. Also, don't try to act smart when giants are close by. Just be as peaceful as ever and they won't be a threat. Shuna is a matriarch, so she holds more power than any giant you may have heard of. I nodded. Giantesses haven't appeared in the game, so I am not sure how will they look like. When I asked Hilda more questions about the matters, she told me that giantesses are few in number and higher in power, so they get to be protected by a lot of males. So giants are feminists, huh? Didn't see that one coming. Anyway, we kept following Furball until we reached a cave. It looked rather massive, but a bloody sight was beheld in front of the place. Around 3 male giants were lying dead. A lot of arrows and wounds all over their bodies. I guess you are definitely right, John Hild. This is Shuna's cave. Chapter 155 Troubled Times 2. Before the Storm. We kept following Furball until we reached a cave. It looked rather massive, but a bloody sight was beheld in front of the place. Around 3 male giants were lying dead. A lot of arrows and wounds all over their bodies. I guess you are definitely right, John Hild. This is Shuna's cave. Shuna's cave has 3 dead giants in front of it. I say this is not looking good for giants at this end of the situation. The giants were around 12 feet in height, 5 meters, which was rather impressive to kill them. I wonder how many they had to face to die with this number of arrows and spears. What should we do from now onward? I have no idea. If there are giants left in the cave, I doubt we will be able to even reason with them. I see. Meanwhile, as I and Hilda were trying to figure out what to do, Furball walked to one of the giants and made some sad groans. Hilda and I managed to understand that this giant was Furball's friend. I say we have someone who can talk some sense into the giants for us, I said. And if it failed, we will just run. Sounds like a plan. I then conjured a familiar cat and sent it into the cave of Shuna. With some simple commanding, the familiar found its way to the inner parts of the cave, and suddenly the connection got lost. Someone must have attacked my familiar inside the cave. Then we can guarantee to get some answers. We decided to wait for whoever inside the cave to respond, and it took about 2 minutes for us to feel a movement from inside. What came out from the cave were 2 giants. They appeared to have some long, powerful limbs, thick skin, with large hands and feet, and decorative scars on their chest that are mainly tribal or religious symbols. Their hair was braided with decorative beads and their faces were wrinkled. They also had elf-like pointy ears. The 2 held crudely made weapons, as they were simply some large stone and wood clubs. For clothing, they wore pelts of fur and bones and simple loincloths. They didn't quite look like the giants from the game, as they were just the same model over and over, but these 2 looked like an old giant and a youthful giant. What they have in common, however, was the angry look they had on their faces when they looked at me and Hilda. Don't harm them, John Hild. Just oppress them with your aura. As Hilda said, we both released our auras at the same time. Hilda's bloody red aura and my light green aura didn't seem to hinder one another at all, and made a unique harmonious effect as the giants retreated from the shock they felt. It was hard to threaten a giant, but this is enough to cause them to hold back their temper. If a fight started, it would be better not to stay around the area. Bring me Shuna. Tell her that Hilda wants to meet. Hilda glared at the giants and kept oppressing them. The giants raised their clubs to warn her from getting closer, and the situation was like a challenge between 2 stubborn brats. Hey Furball. A little help here, buddy. I called for the mammoth that was still lamenting its friend and diverted the attention of the giants towards it. The giants indeed noticed it and seemed to be on guard against the mammoth for a second, but they realized it is not mad anymore. I retreated my aura and the atmosphere calmed down. Tell Shuna to come and talk with Hilda. After a short staring contest with the 2 giants, the elder one turned around and left the younger one to guard the cave's entrance after he went in. Hilda and I were still on guard of whatever comes out from the cave. I had prepared a teleport spell on hand and was ready to take Hilda and escape any second. Still, we felt some heavy footsteps and something came out of the cave. It was indeed a female giant, but the difference between males and females was big. First, her limbs looked wider than most giants. She had a lot more muscles than them. She held a scary club and wore a lot more hide and fur than the other giant. Her hair was a bit light gray and her skin was darker than the male's. It really seemed that she is the boss around the male giants. The discovery was strange, but it wasn't anything important right now. However, I remembered some mod that added female giants to the game, and it was a bit hilarious and very inaccurate for a lot of reasons. Especially when all the giantesses looked really sexy in that mod. Anyway, here it is in front of us. Shuna, the matriarch of giants in this territory. What's going on, Shuna? You look a bit pale. Hilda walked forward and greeted Shuna nonchalantly. Scotty. No, I am Hilda. The giantess glared at Hilda and stomped on the ground, causing us to feel it shaking. Scotty. The giantess shouted in a different tone. Oh, you mean where is Scotty? She is home looking at the matter of your mammoths going mad. Mammoth? Yes, we brought one over there. Shuna the giantess looked at Furball and seemed to have an understanding that we came to help. The way she asked about Aunt Scotty was because she was more familiar with her than Hilda, as I was told. Still, for her to tell the difference between Hilda and Scotty, who are identical twins, explains that this giantess is very smart. Still, I was being looked at by the giantess. Per Sushnu. Yes, he is a firemane, my son. Hilda Sushnu. Su Mammoth Gwarshta. She is thanking you for returning the mammoth. Oh, you welcome. Well, she is friendly at least. Shuna, there are some strange things happening around the land. What do you know? The conversation later started going between Hilda's responses and Shuna's giant language. I was really trying to pick up some words from that language, but it was a complete strange territory to me. How the hell did an airhead like Hilda manage to learn that? It is a very primitive language. After a while, Hilda looked at me and said what she understood. Shuna is saying that 2 suns ago, which means 2 days ago, some evil people that she called Marty Guasha came and attacked the giants with a lot of arrows and threw weird substances on the mammoths and made some fire. What does that word you just said mean? Marty means death, Guasha means walk. Death and walk. Necromancers. It may be the case. For a gang of necromancers to come out in broad daylight only means how strong they are. This only means one thing to our clan. And it is the Blackrock clan. We left the place immediately. This may be a very dangerous situation right now. We need all the power the clan can muster. The Blackrock clan is one of the hidden clans that had an old grudge against the Firemans, and they managed to play us out of our den so far. This will prove troublesome if they were planning an all-out attack on the Firemane's hunting party that has a lot of the key figures of the clan. This is troublesome. I was planning to return to Winterhold by tomorrow, but this may cause me to wait for a few more days. Once we reached the last place we met the party in, we found some tracks and discovered that they have retreated to Kinesgrove once again. We headed to the village, and found that Uncle Tyr was managing the troops of the clan around the village and fortifying its barricade. Also, Grandpa and the rest were in the inn and told us that there was a sudden update to the situation. Our docks were attacked. It is the Bloodsail's doing. So we are under attack, just as John Hild predicted. It seems the peace is about to be over. The Dare Dragon Company's existence and its alliance with the righteous clans caused our old enemies to feel threatened. The Bloodsails have moved in haste and called their allies too. So it is the Bloodsails and the Blackrock this time. Indeed, now we need to stop their sudden aggression and call for reinforcements from home. We also need to return Johnhild to Winterhold and Sigurd to his clan immediately. Wait, won't I be fighting? Everyone will fight, but you need to be among your troops and in your stronghold. No one knows when will they try to sneak attack us once again and how many clans are involved in their conspiracy. I see. Father, when will the reinforcements come? And who is leading it? It is your mother who is leading it, and Archwizard Nerina has just sent some mind message to her telling her to come with the rest and around 200 troops. Isn't it a bit risky? I asked. Risky? Yes, the Blackrock clan troops are around somewhere and the Bloodsails are marching from the north. This is the perfect opportunity for the Blackrock, who have a horde of undead, to trap our reinforcements with their undead as a suicide squad. The undead are the perfect suicide troops. What is dead can never die. Grandpa fell in silence and nodded to my words. We need to move based on what John Hild's idea. Who will go? There will be no need to move in numbers, I said. Nerina, what do you think? I said. I can only participate in communications. Not really interested in fights. My identity as Nerina Aran will cause trouble in the college if I was found out that I participated in a fight between the natives. You are just being lazy. Admit it. Well, looks like I have to explain the situation to you. We can conjure undead, right? I said. Right. The Blackrocks are also necromancers, right? Right. When was the last time we compared our undead others? Especially someone who is specialized in undeath. Nerina lagged for a second and looked at me. Joel, Alina, prepare my stuff. I knew how easy she can be lured. She would never resist the opportunity after all. Chapter 156, Troubled Times, 3, Necromantic Skirmish. It was nights and all the lights died in the surrounding area. Even Kynesgrove itself felt quiet. The truth was definitely the opposite. The firemans have made a lot of preparations for the party yet to come. John was surveying the land from above, using his magic to detect all sorts of life and death signals while dimming the radiance of the flame Atronach hawks that he was leading. On the other flame Atronach hawks were 3 more beauties. Jellinar was holding her lever-action crossbow while preparing her mentality for the blood show. Nerina was checking her last few edits on her personal spells, the things she wants to try. Alina was holding a telepathy scroll and contacting the fire main reinforcements. 61 tangos confirmed. Mostly necromancers and archers. Senior, what are tangos? When he says tangos, he means targets. Ah, I see. The plan is simple, we lure the enemy out and kill them. That sounds like an effortless way of thinking. The simple plan was made by Nerina, and the party descended between the trees where the enemies only left 3 necromancers to cover the area. Once the 3 were spotted, Jellinar put a bolt in each's head. Nice shooting. Now move out, I want everyone in their location ASAP. With John's encouragement, Alina and Joel nodded and ran together into the forest. Seems like you have 2 girls that will do anything for you without questioning. Nerina was looking at John and watching his expressions. I can understand Joel's feelings, but Alina seems to be trying to put extra effort. Is it for nothing? No, I find her adorable, especially when she tries to reveal her face around me more often now. Fufu. I am sure you are happy about it, but don't you dare make a move on her as you did on Joel. She is a fine girl and my student after all. When did you? No, never mind. John was taken aback with Nerina's knowledge about the development of his relationship with Jellinar. It was kinda annoying for him to not be able to hide a thing from her. Can we please focus on what we have now? I will conjure around 100 damn. While he was speaking, Nerina had already summoned around 20 undead in one go. She cast one more time and 20 more appeared. They were all the high-tier undead from the Soul Cairn, the Wraithmen. Sigh. Give me a break. John was a bit disheartened from Nerina's ridiculous skill and started to summon his undead too. Compared to her, his best was to form 2 layers of the same spell on each other and summon 2 undead creatures in one go. It still was cumbersome for him too. He was well aware of what kind of a monster his adoptive mother is. After some time, He used half of his magicka and summoned 80 bonemen archers in 40 casts. Nurina was done in around 5 casts and summoned 100 wraithmen. Didn't you get way too overpowered lately? It is nothing to brag about, Nurina said while making a proud pose. John wasn't feeling well anyway and decided to bully the next victim to get rid of his frustration. A while later, a message arrived through Nurina's telepathic link. John, the convoy is about 100 meters away and the enemies are fully focused on it. Perfect. The exact location? 70 meters away on your 7 o'clock. They are making a road blockage and hiding behind some rocks. The rear blockage will be mine. Okay, I better get into the mood too. John prepared himself and moved his undead team right to its position north of the Blackrock troop. Meanwhile, Nurina's undead were hiding between the trees. Alina summoned some mistmen and Jelinar was hiding on a tree. Now we have 4 teams, which means 4 code names, John. Sigh. Here he goes again. Joel. This is actually my favorite part. Alina. It is pretty simple, ladies. Team Alpha is Nurina's, Team Bravo is me, Team Charlie is Alina, and Unit Delta is Joel. This is getting confusing. Nurina. Just stick to the plan, ladies. We will swoop these bastards and they won't see it coming. While John was bragging with his modern warfare knowledge, his undead got discovered. Calf, do you see these strange things? I don't know, Hot. It is too dark. Hey, don't go near that. Don't worry, I won't. Swoosh. Enemy attack. John saw the situation through his familiar in the sky and felt disappointed. He could also hear some giggles through the telepathic link. Ladies, we have good news and bad news. Bad news is we have been discovered. Good news is it's all according to the plan. Team Bravo moving out. Once he gave the signal, tens of arrows broke through the air and mowed down on the Blackrock troop. Watch out. We are being ambushed. Team Charlie, pin them down. The whole ambush team of the Blackrock clan went into chaos and tried to retreat behind cover, but from the cover, frost magic attacks came raining down. Team Alpha, Team Delta. On Jelinar's side, she started sniping the Blackrock clansmen that were positioned to block the retreating path for the coming Fire Main reinforcements convoy. They were a few in number and couldn't see where the attacks were coming from. On Nurina's side, her small horde of wraithmen started advancing in and attacked the Blackrocks from the only way left for them to retreat. In the ambush area, a man stood in the middle watching the situation in bewilderment. His name Gills Blackrock, and he is one of the Blackrock's main family. What in oblivion is that? He asked the men around him while trying to calm himself down in this situation. A young man came running to him and shouted, Father! Father! It's an ambush! A sort of undead all died in black. They killed Hot. Black. He didn't understand what his son, Calf, said. Undead were mostly either ghosts, corpses, or bones. Black undead are somewhat unusual even to a clan that calls itself the Blackrock. Damn it! We can't stay like this anymore, summon the undead. The Blackrock's necromancers didn't wait anymore and summoned their undead, who conjured in the same fashion as John's and Nurina's undead. Through the familiars in the sky, John and Nurina saw that. Did you just see that? They can summon undead too? John didn't expect to see this one coming. Summoning the undead wasn't something common at all. It needed the mage to be aware of the existence of the soul cairn and possess the right amount of talent to summon the black undead of the soul cairn. Else, the ideal masters who rule the soul cairn will snatch the soul of the mage. Still, these mages from some hidden clan could achieve a huge feat such as summoning the undead. It is interesting indeed. It was a good decision to come here after all. Nurina was also analyzing what she just saw. Look, kid. Do you see their undead clearly? Yes. What do you think? Nurina asked. John focused on the undead battle that started between the black undead and the Blackrock's undead and tilted his head. Aren't those plain normal undead? Right? Huh? Why would it? Wait. Did you just see that? See what? One of your undead just smashed a skeleton and it's remained. Oh, you also notice. What is going on? According to the rules of conjuration, conjured creatures should return back to their realm once they got destroyed. For the remains of the still remain in the realm they got conjured to is illogical. These creatures have their souls bound to the realm they came from after all, and they don't really die even if their bodies are destroyed, as they get new bodies later on. To John, that didn't make any sense, but Nerina has already figured out some theories. Let's finish them off and analyze the situation afterward. To Nerina's words, John nodded and conveyed the orders to the other two to prepare for the final assault. Once everything was set, the four joined the attack at the Blackrock ambushers. The Blackrock people were not expecting the assailants to show themselves, and as necromancers, they knew that the best way to finish this quickly is to cut the head of the snake first. As the one with the biggest body and visible red hair, John was assumed to be a firemane at once and faced the first wave of attack. Humph! You think your old daddy, will be threatened by such weaklings? Piss off! Loud war cries sounded from John, and the necromancers around him lost their marbles and panicked right away. Their undead ceased to function as the summoners were in a state of shock and didn't put 1 ounce of control in their undead as they started running away. 8, 9, 10. Jelinar was counting the kills as she was shooting down any living target she finds. Take this. Alina made a small tornado and sent it right into the middle of the Blackrock's necromancers. Humph! Nerina snorted as she waved her hand, and spray of spectral arrows chased down the necromancers. Her spell was called Bound Arrows, as he didn't use Bound Bow, yet she bounded the arrows to shoot directly as being shot with magicka. The one who saw the scene vividly was Gil's Blackrock, who was hiding behind his high-quality undead while searching for a path to escape. He decided to make use of his undead and push forward through the black undead creatures that were shooting magic from the back and run into the forest, but his plans went all into disarray when he found that every route was blocked tightly. He looked around him and only saw his 15 white skeletons and some of his surviving clansmen that backed down to get some protection besides their leader. His son was one of them. Who are you people? How come there are necromancers as fearsome as you? Gills shouted his voice out and wished that the fight would stop, and that was as it is. John stopped and looked right into Gills's eyes. The rest also stopped, as they were following John's lead from the start. Gills recognized John as the leading figure of the assault. He also recognized him as a firemane and a young one. Who are you? Who's asking? I am the one asking. Don't answer my question with a question. I'll answer however I like, fatso. You are the fucker that is hanging around our territory with his goons. Falsehood. Fuck off. You ain't walking out of here alive. Just who in oblivion are you? A necromancer with black skeletons like you should be known. Or maybe it is one of those women. None of your goddamn business. Now, mind telling me who are you and which address should I send your head to? You don't dare. The atmosphere around John froze in a second. Nerina shook her head and Jelinar sighed. Only Alina was oblivious to John's major bad habit. Let's see, that little piglet hiding behind you seems to be blood-related to you. I'll start with him. John cast a strong lightning strike spell and targeted Calf, son of Gil's Blackrock. Gills reacted as fast as he could, and put all his magicka in a ward that barely blocked the spell John casted. Gills could feel his head becoming light and his face becoming pale from the sheer energy that the spell carried. He also felt a sweet taste in his mouth. Oh, so you managed to block that? I am impressed. We can exchange names then. Gills Blackrock didn't expect that John's spell would be this strong and saw John in a new light. My name is John Dare. Just by hearing the name, Gills's head felt more light than before and almost staggered. The information was clear. John Dare, the Thane of Winterhold and a student of an archmage who defeated Alina Moonblade, the most talented girl in her generation, and conquered all Winterhold after turning its Jarl into his servant. The ultimate target of this campaign and the one to be avoided at all costs by the small fries. He himself didn't think too much about it, but the strike he took just now needed to be reported that the threat is not just at a small level. This is a major problem for the alliance of the Blackrocks and the Bloodsails. I am Gills Blackrock. I wish to hear the names of the fellow necromancers as well. Gills wanted to buy time as much as possible for him to use his hidden trump card and put pressure on John. Jellinar of Household Dare. Nurina Aran. Alina of Clan Moonblade. Gills was delighted to hear the women talking, but soon he realized what sort of shit situation he was in. These are not just some normal names. They were all mentioned in the Winterhold report. 3 of the major key figures of new ruling faction in Winterhold with the Overlord of Winterhold himself. This is just too unlucky to be accepted. There is only one solution out of this mess, and it is to run away. He decided to gamble on his trump card that he was so sure to buy him a minute or two now. As he made his mind, he opened his mouth and talked. My name is Gills Blackrock. Just as he said his name, he took out a scroll and with swift hand movements, he opened and cast the spell on it. John clicked his tongue and in dissatisfaction and decided to blow up whatever Gills come up with. Still, it seemed that Gills summoned something and by the looks of it, the void of the summoning is a little bit too big. What came out from the void made even Nurina open her eyes wide in amazement. Whiskey Tango Foxtrot. Isn't this undead a little bit too big? You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.